Night Owls.
Turn on Night Owls.
for making that call. And get talking across the northeast, please. Because this is Night Owls with Alan Robson.
Welcome to the Night Owls. Alan Robson with you. Great to have you with us. Now, whatever it is you want to talk about, we're going to do some of that tonight. We're starting off with a challenge, and it's a challenge that I think you guys will be into. And that is, what should be a criminal offence? Now, there's an awful lot that should. I'll give you an example of something that just happened the last few days. I got up early, wanted to get pop to a few shops early so that I could get away. I had a few jobs that I needed doing. So, 28 in the morning, drive into one of these big shopping centre areas, massive car park, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 car parking spaces. Parked the car. When I come back, there's 3 cars in the car park, and they're both either side of me. And the woman who's just parked is having difficulty getting out of her side door because she's going to hit my car. That's got to be a criminal offence. That's a criminal offence right there. No excuses. Got to be a criminal offence. Now, to add to that, there are 1,000 other people that I would like to put into prison. Are you one of these dog owners that instead of picking up the squelchy, warm, it's your choice, your pet. Are you one of the ones that put them in the little plastic bags, tie a knot in them, and then hang them on a bush somewhere? So that in 1,000 years, some poor sucker will walk past and, I wonder what's in the bag. Usually that's got to be 15 to 20 years right there for each bag. Because there's some of you create little poo trees. And they're usually in places like cemeteries or beauty spots. Dirty, dirty minging people you are. Who else? Who else should go to... Oh, I tell you what. Ellie Goulding. Can I just say congratulations to Ellie Goulding. She's just had a baba. And last time I met Ellie, she was with somebody famous. I'm not going to name their name, but he's from Dumfries. She's married a man called Casper. So I knew instantly they weren't from the West End of Newcastle or Red House in Sunderland. I knew that straight away. Wouldn't have lasted 5 years. Where's Casper? He would have been a ghost in no time at all, I'm fairly sure. So what else should be criminal offences apart from calling your son Casper? That parking thing, outrageous. Whoever invented frozen chips, they should go down. There you go. 0191 488 3188. On our switchboard tonight, the Prince has returned. We got Harry with us. Great to have Harry back. Solid and stout member of the team. Been away far too long. Good to have him back. The pride of Ambule. Yes. The Prince of Amble we have with us tonight. So give us a call. We're waiting for you, whatever you want to talk about. But let's do this. Things that should be just absolutely criminal. No excuses, you know. The people that leave the top of toothpaste open so you've got that little tower, hardened tower of toothpaste that just gets rock hard on the tile next to where you clean your teeth. Yeah, it's a good 6 months in prison, that would cure them. 0191 488 3188. That's not the only stories I want. No, I want naked stories as well, because did you know the other day was World Naked Day? Yeah. Now, everybody has a naked story. What's your naked story, okay? 0191 488 3188. What was your naked story? I was tempted, because we are Greatest Hits Radio, I thought we could also do catchiest bit of music. Do you know what I mean? Those little headworms that you get. I'll tell you what was a headworm. Baby Shark was a head. Even if you didn't like it, it was a headworm. That thing, the slappy bummy. What was that called, Tony? That bit of music with the guy from Korea who. Yes, Gangnam Style. That was a headworm. He only got away with it because he had cute women dancing, I think. But then we all learnt it, and then we couldn't get rid of it. That's what happened with that. Headworms. And the reason I mention this is, for no reason at all, I haven't seen a TV programme in probably 30, 40 years. But the other day I just started humming The Addams Family, and it's been with me in my head now for about 4 days. Da-da-da-da. Yeah. Headworms. What headworm have you had and suffered from and couldn't shake off? Now, this week I think has been a... Oh, here we go. Feel the Need's been on. It says, criminal offence, eating loudly with your mouth open should be a criminal offence. Yeah. Absolutely. No question about that. Sneezing without using your hand or a tissue. Just letting it go everywhere. Let's spread some diseases. Spread some diseases. What else should be a criminal offence? Come on, I've asked you. It's your turn now. Dive in. But this week has been an odd and downright peculiar week. I have heard the phrase double dip on many occasions. Now, I always thought double dipping was a good thing. And in my ignorance, I thought double dipping was something you did on your honeymoon if you were lucky, okay? If you didn't fall asleep after the first one. That was a double dip in my head. Somebody says we're going to have a double dip soon. And they're talking about a recession. Because obviously firms have lost their jobs and stuff, so double dipping is obviously a different thing. Lynn, standing in doorways with your shopping trolley, gossiping, and then tutting at people who have to push past you. Drives me insane. Know exactly what you mean. Margaret Smith is sick of picking up other people's dog poo outside my front gate. 6 months in prison, Margaret. 6 months. That would cure them. Having to poo in front of your cellmate and everything, that would sort them out. Definitely. What else should be criminal offences? There's a million things out there that pee you off. There's no question about it. Britain is going to be the only country who says that masks may have to stay after June. What do you think about that? Isabel's been on. She says, people who pick their nose in public, yuck, horrible. Now, you say, somebody once said to me, but what if you've got something up there that's stopping you breathe? You blow your nose in a hanky, paper tissue or something. And you don't even do that. And you're discreet. Go somewhere where you're not watched to do that. It's the same as women who pick their knickers out the bum. You know that? Have a bit grow up around the back. Men, of course, have a grow up around the front. That should be a criminal offence as well. Oh, blimey, I'm going to send some people down tonight. Nathan, wearing PJs on the school run should be illegal. It should. Linda Hoff says spitting. Yeah, absolutely. I think there are some men that would believe spitting in certain circumstances is all right, but not in front of people, definitely not. 0191 488 3188. Walk away, Alan. Don't say what's in your head, right? Also, Boris, according to the people around Boris, they say he would rather have more deaths with COVID rather than have another lockdown. His mind's made up. We're getting out of it, doing it, living with it. Is he right? Is it wrong? Vicky says if you have to pick your knickers, you have to pick them. Yeah, but you don't need to do it in front of people when you're walking down the street. Go in a doorway. Turn your back away. Give them a little, Sean says nails being scratched down a chalkboard should be a criminal offence. The only people that do that are trying to wind you up. Premeditated nail scratching then. Sexist talk in the workplace. What do you think about it? Is it a laugh or is it something toxic? They've been talking about it more, and you know, since the American TV and film producers talking about casting couches and trying to see people naked. We got another actor that's been allegedly mistreating women. Sexist talk in the workplace. You know, where you're flirting on a bit. Is it and should it be a criminal offence, or is it just a laugh? Colin says it should be a criminal offence when old age pensioners speed to get past you, and then when they're past you, they slow down or stop. It's not just pensioners that do that, mind. It is, in my experience, when you are driving on a motorway at 50 to 60, you're not doing the limit, and a vehicle's in front of you doing about 50, you indicate out to overtake them so they speed up. So then you got to pull back in behind them, then they slow back down to 50, then you pull out, then they speed up, and on it goes. Emma Louise. People that stop to chat in the middle of an aisle in a supermarket. Get out the way, man, ho! Yeah, get out the way, absolutely. It's that if there should be an area in the middle of a supermarket with chairs and a table for you to sit down, have a chat, go ahead. But you're in front of the beans and I want some. It's nearly always where you want to have a look, see. So you try to squeeze in, but they don't shift. Now, a year and a half for that, 18 months in prison, that was it. Also, bank holiday booze-ups. Have you had some? What's the crack? All over the city here, there are people freezing to death in places that have heaters that are never warm enough, but they're trying. They're out there trying to have a bank holiday booze-up right now. There'll be some of you with about 9 layers of clothing on, sitting in the garden having a barbecue because we're so desperate just to mooch and mix again. Everybody just ready to be free. Also, posh things. Now, I have never been posh. I've always been rather common and a bit embarrassing, frankly. But things that poshies want. In one of the news channels today, I read that the current thing that all poshies want, Prada buckets. It's a Prada bucket. Now, to me, a big plastic bucket, I don't know, probably £3 if you go to the right shop. Prada buckets, over £200, and you think, for a bucket? My view on that is rhyming slang. A Lego man says people driving up and down the street with a loud engine making old people have heart attacks should be banned from driving. I call this the Subaru syndrome. For some reason, people with Subarus decide they're not going to put a silencer on there, and they've got a car it's an all-right car. Is it special? That special? If it is to you, it is to you, but the rest of us look and kind of go, really? Always sounds like the front row of a Grand Prix coming down the road, and then you look at it and it's just a Subaru. I'm sorry to say just a Subaru. You know, if it was a Ferrari Testarossa, you'd probably go, oh. But you just kind of go, there's a waster who can't afford a silencer on his exhaust. It's not a sexy thing. You'll never see a woman turning her head going, wow, because somebody's got a loud silencer on their car. Pick up your telephone, give us a call. We are Greatest Hits Radio Northeast, and we need you. Now, last week we started with the Jackson 5. Who's to say we're not samey? Hi, everybody. Welcome to glorious Northumberland is where we're at. We are in Alnmouth for a tale of two halves. Wonderful halves, too. The first, the story of the smuggler's bones. And it's an amazing story about the most famous smugglers in Britain at the time. And they came from this part of the world. Want to introduce you in the second part to one of the world's greatest and best known pirates who was never here. So how are we going to cope with that? Well, I'll tell you about that a little bit later too. But let's introduce you to the crew. First of all, we got Kenny, who's with us. And 2 seconds ago, totally out of the blue, literally just before we started, a young lad came up called John Robson, who had been at some football event with Liverpool. But the thing is, just by passing in the street, he came over and said, "You're Alan Robson, aren't you? This is for you." And he gave me a genuine clay pipe from the 1800s. How cool is that? And it's got engravings and stuff on it. Got a heart on the side. Beautiful clay pipe. And he just knows the kind of stuff that we do. And he found that on a midden and an outfall that's a little bit further down, where lots of old-fashioned stuff gets caught in the mud, and when it rains, it uncovers things like that. And he's cleaned it up. I think that might be a bit of poo on the side, I have to say.
And then he jumped in the house to come and watch us.
I know, it was just lovely. So John Robson, thank you very much. Originally from Amble. He's living up here in Alnmouth, which is lovely. But that was just a beautiful, beautiful thing to start with. Now, you may wonder why we started here. Well, this is something that buses and cars drive past every time anybody comes to Alnmouth. And if you have a look at it, it's just a fairly straightforward war memorial. On one side, it's World War II. And on the other side, it's the First World War. And the plaque on the front says it's for both World War I and World War II. Now, for those of you that live here in Alnmouth or who've travelled here or been down to the beach, or maybe you've played on the 9-hole golf course, which is ancient here, you probably go past this and you're not even look at it. The reason that we're doing this tonight's story in two parts is one part is about Boomer. Now, Boomer is 3 miles up that road there. So how can we do a story about 3 miles away while we're here? Well, Boomer, the name of it, and you can probably see it on the sign in the distance. I don't know whether you can catch it, but there should be there you go, Boomer in the distance, 3 miles up the road. Once you get through Foxton, it's a nice little cycle ride for somebody. Boomer, you might think it's a modern name. It isn't. It's actually Bullsmere. It was called Bullsmere because the people who lived there kept bulls that they used to give out and hire out to farms to look after the cows. And they would also protect them with pit bull terriers and bulldogs back in the day. And they had wild animals to keep the tallyman at bay. But Boomer, the monument, the link between the two is Boomer got taken over by the Royal Air Force, and an awful lot of their missions to protect the northeast coast meant that the Germans knew that they were there. So they sent bombing missions to go past the industrial centres of Sunderland, Teesside, Newcastle, all the way out to what is still beautiful countryside to bomb Boomer, because they wanted to stop the planes from defending it, making the invasion that Hitler wanted so badly possible. And because of that, they peppered this northeast coast with bombs, and that leads to something that you rarely see on a war memorial. If you look at the side here, it gives you the name of a whole list of civilians who died in bombings because they were trying to knock out the Royal Air Force. So I thought it was actually really nice of them that they give the name to people like Jane Gibb and the Stantons who died. It's just lovely that because they were fighting for the war effort just the same as everyone else. Now, we're going to walk. We've got an awful lot to tell you about because Boomer was the capital of the whole North Country. From Birmingham up, it was the capital of smuggling. Odd noise in the distance there. Also, Boomer is the place where
The voice of the North.
Alan Robson's Night Owls, the phone-in that gets you talking.
Greatest Hits Radio.
And we're starting the show almost as if we're just all in Scotland, and why not? Beautiful, glorious place. And let's head first of all to Uncle Arthur, who is in Scotland. Let's see what he's got for us tonight. Hello, Arthur.
Hello, Alan. Yes, it's good to be back on your show again, especially so soon after Christmas.
Well done, and thank you very much for doing that. What you got for us then, Arthur?
But first of all, what week did you say it was? Last week was it World Naked Day or something? I can just imagine that not going down terribly well in Scotland.
Now, come on, everybody's got a naked story where somebody, a next door neighbour, saw you walking past the living room window and your towel fell, or everybody's got something that's happened like that. What was your story?
If they saw me naked, Alan, it would frighten the children, I tell you. But no, I don't have one of them. But I'm actually phoning in because of your bigger discussion that you're having tonight. The things that should be an absolute criminal offence.
Gotcha.
Now, I have a list.
Right.
I have a list, a big list. Yeah. So this might take a wee while. But first of all, top of my list. Here we go. People that are noisy eaters.
Right, what's so wrong with that? They're enjoying their food, they're chomping away. Maybe it's crisps. What can you do with crisps? Come on.
If it's crisps, that's fine. If it's something solid, that's fine. But I had a work colleague who actually noisily ate soup.
Oh, a slurp.
Not a slurper, he actually chewed it. How can you chew soup? I have absolutely no idea how he managed it, but I'll tell you something though. I was sitting beside him in a cafeteria, and there he was, and he was chewing his soup. It was the best soup I ever had.
Whoa.
The best soup.
Yeah. No, there's no excuse for that. And it's people who talk when their mouth's full and you see the stuff on their teeth and in the mouth. That's not attractive either, is it? I'm
always frightened of that actually happening to me, because you know how sometimes you go into these pub diners at lunchtime?
Yeah.
Yes. And you want one of these sort of big chains of pub diners at lunchtime. Uh-huh. And you get there seems to be a certain point in your meal, probably about a third of the way through your meal or something, and then one of the members of staff comes up to you and they ask, is everything all right with your meal? But they always seem to do that when your mouth is full. They never seem to do it when you've actually got your fork and you're about to go and pierce something and put it into your mouth. It's always when your mouth is full. Have you ever noticed that? I
have, absolutely. And what you tend to do is you want to be polite and you want to answer straight away, but you haven't even started chewing it yet in your mouth.
All I can do is nod my head saying, yeah.
So you make a seal. If they hear the seal noise, they realise that you're enjoying it. You're there, pretty much. So
that's very true. Yeah. So anyway, criminal offences, right? Criminal things that should be a criminal offence. Yeah. I have a list.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Here we go.
Let's do it.
People that are shorter than 5'4", Alan, using golfing brollies when it rains. That should be made illegal, right? Because now it's okay when people that are like 5'10" are using a golfing brolly when it rains because it blocks it out and blocks the sun.
Right.
And I'm 5'10" myself.
Right.
But when people are shorter than that, especially about 5'4" downwards, it tends to poke me in the eye.
Yeah.
Now, but there was a work colleague, and again, I'm making this point about people I work with because I have a few of them, and she was about 4'9", 4'10".
Right.
And she used a golfing brolly one day when it was absolutely peeing down with rain, right? Mm-hmm. And I was walking behind her, and the golfing brolly was very oval-shaped. It really was. It was huge, absolutely huge on it, and it was like a biosphere with legs walking up the street. So people with coffin brollies that are shorter than 5'4", not allowed. That should be a criminal offence.
And mind you, the other thing that they do, people with brollies in general are complete. Now, you see, if I've got a brolly and I see somebody coming, even if it's raining and bucketing down, I'll tip the brolly to one side so that I don't make contact with a person that's on the same pavement as I am coming the other way. Now, I think
brolly fencing, this is called.
Absolutely, but you've got to put it to one side so it's nowhere near them. However, a lot of brolly people, they go, I shall walk through with this over my head, no matter what happens, no matter who I tear the hair out of or prod in the eye. Yeah, I think that is a criminal offence, absolutely.
Absolutely. Anyway, another one that should be a criminal offence, Alan, I have a list. Right? Ugly people. Ugly people. Now, I'm not bothered about ugly people themselves. What I'm really bothered about is ugly people somehow, for some reason, and I'm quite sure they're doing this deliberately, they're getting married and they're giving birth to ugly children. Now, I'm fine with good-looking people doing this. Good-looking people get married, give birth to good-looking children. Average people, they do the same, but ugly people, I'm quite sure they're doing it just to be evil and just to keep it going.
Arthur, have you got a mirror in your house?
Yes.
Well, this is the thing. So have I. So I couldn't possibly. I can't make that a criminal offence. Otherwise, we'd be in prison as well.
I don't have any children, Alan.
Oh, well, neither do I. We'll get away with it. Fair. It's a criminal offence. It's a criminal.
I'm thinking about the planet here.
Absolutely. Send it down.
Just on the subject of good looks, though, Alan, on the subject of looks, here's another thing that I think should be a criminal offence, and I'm hoping you start a campaign about this, because I reckon this is a very, very big thing.
Right.
Very big thing. Now, you've heard of celebrity lookalikes.
Right.
Yeah, well, I don't think such a thing exists. I reckon the problem goes the other way. I reckon there are dozens, probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of celebrities who have been copying the good looks of ordinary members of the public, and they've been making a fortune out of it.
Explain that to me. I'm not quite with you yet, Arthur.
Well, I know people who they've got a certain kind of look for themselves, and they're quite fashionable for themselves, but sometimes I have a look at them and then I switch on the telly and I find a celebrity that looks just like them. And I'm thinking, that's too much of a coincidence, come on.
Right. No, I'd say, but you think the celebrities copied them rather than the other way around?
Yes, I think so. I think there should be a major campaign. I think they should be named and shamed.
Well, I don't know about that. And the only reason I'll say it is way back in my youth, maybe your youth too, when T-Rex...
Just a long time ago.
Well, there you go. But when T-Rex happened, and suddenly that curly corkscrew hair thing became a thing. It hadn't been a thing before. The streets where I lived certainly didn't have any curly-haired people at all. Not that I'd noticed. We were all ordinary hair. And then all of a sudden, Mark Bolan was around, and women had the big curly corkscrew hair. Guys who had lank, mousy hair suddenly had corkscrew, mousy hair instead, or they were dyeing it and stuff. So I do think it possibly works the other way around. And I know you have a conspiracy theory that it's the other way, but maybe not.
Well, can I tell you, I had a classmate in my school, right, and he had a certain looking style about him, and then I switched on the TV and I saw Howard Jones with the exact same look.
Yeah, but he maybe got...
What made me really think about it was that, I mean, my school friend, his name was Cameron, and then there was Howard Jones appearing on top of the pops, and each time this happened, I could swear I never saw them in the same room together.
Right, well, this is true.
Yep.
Problem is, my suspicion is maybe he got to Howard Jones before you did. That's the only thing that I would suggest. So I can't send them down.
I have a certain hairstyle, Alan. I've still got my hair. At 48 years of age, I've still got my hairstyle.
Good man.
The very same one. It's so 1990, but my wife insists that I keep it. And my hairstyle, I swear, was actually copied by Jason Donovan and Chesney Hawkes, and I haven't spoken to them since.
All right, what else is on your list then, Arthur? Come on.
I think that'll do me, Alan. I better go because I'm hogging the show.
You are, and you're also going to be stalked by the rest of us ugly people who happen to have children. So brace yourself, Arthur. Good talking to you, man. Thanks for calling.
No problem. Bye, mate.
Cheers. Bye-bye. So there you go. Now, you cannot really jail people for how they look. Of course not. The problem is, the difficulty we have with this is beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I know people who I thought, oh, he's a bit of a rough-looking guy, him, isn't he? And he ends up with a beautiful partner, and you think, how did that happen? It's because what I think's attractive is completely different to what you think's attractive. I certainly don't think that my face remotely is attractive, and I like to believe that at least one or two people on planet Earth think it's all right. But it's that beauty thing. What is beautiful? What is handsome? And I've always wondered about this. What do you think is, for example, and I bet you've done it, especially if you're a mum or a dad, you'll have looked at somebody who's the current crop of handsome people on telly, whoever you think it may well be. Chris Hemsworth, Thor. A lot of people think, oh, he's handsome, he's sexy. It may well be Idris Elba. There you go. There's another one that people say, oh, he's got a look. Or women, even. You know, there's some people that think Jennifer Lopez is amazing. And there's others that, oh, I don't fancy her at all. Taylor Swift's me. And it's all down to your personal taste, isn't it? So maybe, and think about this, maybe there are no ugly people. Maybe we're all special in our own way. And that's the thing that all ugly people should say. There you go. 019... like me. 0191 488 3188. Be happy in your own skin. It's the only one you're going to have. 0191 488 3188. We're staying in Scotland. We're heading to Annan, where we've got Lewis. Hi, Lewis.
Hi, good to speak to you again. It's been a while.
I know. Welcome back. What's brought you on then, Lewis?
It was back in January before I started the uni work again.
Yeah. So how's it been? Is it going well or what?
Yeah. Just become the disability officer.
Oh, wow.
I went for that because I just felt things with online learning weren't working. You were getting work that they were expecting you to reformat in 10 minutes, which just isn't good enough.
Right.
But so I've got that job, so I start that in June. But so I'm looking forward to getting into that.
Congratulations! Yeah. I'm sure you'll make a good job of it.
Yeah, and before I go on to my main football point, just to add to the list of criminal offences on the subject of looks, actually, because I've got no sight at all.
Right.
And it actually really annoys me when people decide that they want to go out with someone because of their looks. Because for me, looks are irrelevant. For me, it'll be about the personality. You know, it'll be, do I like the personality of the person? It's like, why is looks the be-all and end-all? I just don't get that.
Here's the thing, though, Lewis. And again, I've worked for Guide Dogs for the Blind or alongside Guide Dogs for the Blind for 20, 30 years earlier in the stuff that I was doing. So I've had an awful lot to do with people who've got sight issues like yourself. If, let's say that you met somebody and you had an image in your mind's eye as to what you thought they looked like, because you can't help doing that. I mean, even just over a telephone like we're talking, you might be thinking, oh, I wonder if Alan looks like this or that. And I'm thinking, oh, is Lewis tall or short? You know, all of that kind of thing. But let's say you had a chat with somebody and they're sparky and nice. They seem to have a lovely personality. And then you meet them for the first time. Would it make a difference what they felt like if you used your hands on their face?
Perhaps. I mean, it depends on. I mean, a lot of my decision is or if I like someone is often based on the voice, which is weird.
Right.
Or their hands.
Yeah, but you said that looks are unimportant, and the nearest you're going to get to looks is what you feel, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, not normally. Not normally. I mean, I've had family who before have often, when I've been going out with a girl, and I'm currently single. Right. Just put that out there.
That's all I was going to say. Always worth a mention, just in case. Right?
Yeah. I'm bored of being single, but I had a girlfriend once before, and my family turned out, oh, she's horrible. It's like, and it was quite difficult because the family tell me, oh, she's a horrible looking girl. You know, why are you going out with her? She's ugly. She's fat and all. And it's like, I found it quite tough
Well, you see, but so first of all, it's not your parents say.
No,
frankly,
no.
it's what you think and what you feel that counts. And if she's a large girl, there's a lot of large, beautiful women, and if they have beauty, as far as I'm concerned, it shines from inside. It's not. It's not the packaging. The packaging's something that changes with time. How did you feel about, first of all, a size, and secondly, you couldn't see whether outwardly she was attractive or unattractive. You knew the spark inside. To be honest, in some ways, that's an advantage, because a lot of people who are sighted get blinded by the wrong thing, by makeup, by fakery, by all of that. And you at least get the inside track, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I knew she was quite big because, when you went to go for a hug and what, you could tell. So that comes back to what you said about the face and what. It didn't really change my view of it very much. For me, it is mostly about the personality. But so I did know that, but it was quite difficult, because you're in this society where some people are quite judgmental on, how someone looks, and so it is quite. I personally find it frustrating, but because you've got these dating sites, Tinder and what, and it's all about looks. Swipe this way if you like the look of them. Swipe right.
Sure.
Swipe left. It's why? Why do we have this? Are there any dating sites for blind people? Or, I mean, not that you necessarily want to. Not that I'm not saying that I'm not open to going out with someone sighted, because I am, but sites that are friendly for people like us, where it's not about the looks.
Yeah. The even when Arthur before said ugly, I don't know about you, but I instantly thought, I am ugly in so many ways. And, but you know the parts of your body that work and the parts that need a trim, or the bits that's got a wrinkle or a crow's foot, or all the other little things. That someone once said to me that there's no such thing as ugly, because every mark on your body is a sign that you've lived a life, which is a lovely thing.
Yeah.
However, you also know that if you're a sighted person, you can see the amount of extreme effort that people put in to trying to make themselves look better, or look not like what they really look like if they didn't have 4 ton of makeup on and false eyelashes and lipstick and this and that, And even men, using the face creams, got to get rid of that wrinkle. Well, let's get some Botox, and let's have false breasts, and let's have this, and let's have that. So everybody, I think I'll need tattoos on my arm because people are then not look at my face or whatever.
Yeah.
Why are people so obsessive about how they look? Because in the great scheme of things, getting out of a pandemic, you'd have thought, if you're healthy, you're winning. At the present moment, if you're healthy, you're winning. So why should you worry and freak out about? And I do envy you in a way, because personality in that inner light is that's the beauty of a human being, and it doesn't matter whether they're huge or whatever.
Yeah, I wish more people would. I wish more people would look at it that way, but I mean, I don't know.
There's a lot that never will. I do absolutely accept that. Okay. So anyway, tell me about this football thing. Come on then, Lewis.
Yes, yeah. So obviously, my English team is Liverpool.
Right.
And I was disappointed about today's game, getting called off. But I find it quite difficult to know exactly where I stand on this, because was clearly, the European Super League I thought was a disastrous idea. Was totally, I thought it would, it was to me, it was about greed, money. It would, smaller teams, even local teams to you, and I know Newcastle aren't a small team, but, they weren't part of the Big Six, and Sunderland and, Middlesbrough, whatnot. But I just thought it was a disgrace in the first place. And then you had the Glazer family, the United, the bosses of United, and one of them, Joel, apologised to the fans.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this protest today was sparked by the fact that the it was either is it the brother, was it Alan or something, Glazer, refused to apologise to the fans for the Super League. Now, I think this has been sparked for a long time. I've heard that the relationship between owner and fans hasn't been good, but I think the refusal of apology from one member of that organisation, plus them wanting to go into this Super League idea, has completely. I thought this was coming. I mean, I'm in favour of peaceful protest.
Right.
I think in this situation, I think what they did was, I think they had a right to protest.
Mm-hmm.
What I will not agree with is flares getting thrown, members of staff, or anyone getting.
Policemen getting slashed is just out of order. Absolutely.
I mean, the police have been doing a difficult job with this pandemic, and a lot of the workers, and they need the credit. I just think that that's over the top. However, I think peaceful protests, and I think I understand why they did it and why it happened. Yeah,
but you see, for all of those, I view it slightly different. And yes, absolutely, you've got a right to protest. And I suppose on a match day is when to do it, I suppose. To go to hotels to intimidate football teams, that's another. First of all, if it's your team, you shouldn't be intimidating them because it's nothing to do with the players. It wasn't them that did anything wrong. In the case of Liverpool, Klopp was the first manager, your guy, because you're the Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
Klopp was the first manager to come out and say, even though the Liverpool management have said this is what they want to do, I'm against it. Now, that takes a pair of danglers, doesn't it, to come in? Because that's your paymaster that you're going up against. So, and the amount of money these people get is substantial. So that was a chunk. So he should be respected very much for that. Yeah. The other thing that I look at, though, is you don't want to get a game cancelled because the people who have paid for tickets, and I don't know how many were in, but there was a few thousand apparently. If people have paid for tickets to get in there, especially at a time when they're just allowing a few in, so it's really exciting. Haven't watched a game for a year or so I'm going to get in. To have that snatched out from under them's a bit sad. Also, it disturbs the way the league is because people wanted to find out whether are Man City going to be declared champions yet, or are they suddenly going to have a loss of form, and other teams like Man United, are they going to come through? Because Manchester United have had a good season in comparison with previous ones, They're doing better than normal. So it was a strange time for things to get to such a head that they had to cancel the game. Always think it's sad when a game gets cancelled for any reason.
It is. I mean, I don't remember, but I heard the story going back to 95. I wasn't born until 99, but I heard the story about a Republic of Ireland-England game getting called off midway through because of some riots.
Yes, yeah.
I don't remember it. You might remember it.
I'll tell you what I remember vividly because I was actually at the match. It wasn't that game, but it did because you're up in Scotland. It was in the Fairs Cup, the UEFA Fairs Cup, which is not the Champions League. It's the next one down that keeps changing its name. But it was the Fairs Cup then. Newcastle had won it, and they were when they were heading towards that win, they had to play Rangers. And Rangers came down. They'd played at Ibrox. I think it was a 0-0 or something like that. They came to St James's Park, and Newcastle were beating them 2-0. So the Rangers fans thought, well, let's run on the pitch, let's have a riot, let's get the game cancelled, and then they can have another crack at Newcastle to try and knock them out, which is a dirty tactic, but that's what they did. And they raced across the pitch and started smacking everybody in sight. And I narrowly avoided hiding myself on that day, but the police managed to keep a hold of it, and it wasn't cancelled. So I've been close to being at a game that was cancelled, and Newcastle went on to win that game and the cup. And blimey, it's a long time since anybody on Tyneside being able to say that, to say they won anything. But there you go, they did that. But
my stepbrother's a Newcastle fan, so he knows how painful the wait is.
No, absolutely. But do you think then there should be more protests, or do you think they should try and get their message across in a different way?
Well, I mean, it's how can they? You know, I think, you know, you have to do it in a way that isn't going to put people in danger. You know, ideally, I would prefer them not to be protests.
Right.
Because I think it just leads, particularly at this time as well, I think there's always that danger. So I'm actually not in favour of them. I think if there would be a way of contacting or getting some of the fans involved in some kind of virtual meeting with some of the owners or something to discuss the grievances.
There's a problem with that, though, because you'll know yourself, and again, bringing it back to the northeast, to Newcastle, you could talk to the director of the club all day and all night, and it's not going to change anything that he does, full stop.
No,
it's not going to do it. And with respect to doing that with Manchester, you know, Manchester United, and discussing it, the only power that fans have, and it's whether they spend their money on season tickets and tickets to get into the ground, and the hot dogs and the drinks and the food and all the other things that brings revenue in. And the owners know that people are too loyal to their club to do that, because it doesn't matter whether they disagree with everything that the directors are doing, they want to go and see and support their team, and they'll go and do it. So they've kind of got them by the short and curlies. Yeah,
I mean, maybe that's maybe an alternative of what they should do. I mean, I don't think they would do it because they're loyal to their club, but maybe boycotting the club or saying, I'm not going to renew my season ticket, or I'm not paying to come to these games until... That's
their power. But I don't think they'll use their power purely and simply because they love their teams too much. You know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, in my situation, and I say England team's Liverpool, and I said if and my Scotland team is actually Rangers,
right?
But I said if either of those teams or both joined that Super League, I would not pay for a ticket and I would not go to the games,
right?
Because I just think it was greed, and it was just about money. You know, I personally would have refused to go to any future games, but I think a lot of fans just wouldn't take that step.
I think so too. But interesting. Lewis, thank you very much. Good talking to you, man. Stay well.
Thank you. Have a good time.
And stay handsome. Cheers. 0191 488 3188. What's your view on the whole ugly thing as well? Now, first of all, in the middle of all that happening, I was informed that it's Jenny's birthday today. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jenny. Happy birthday to you. It's Jenny's birthday. Well done. 84 years young is Jenny. Well done, fab. And also, Nikki. Now, one of my best friends was called Guy, letter G-E-E. But there was another kid in the same class at school who had the same surname but was G. So I don't know whether this is Nikki G or Nikki G. However, she loves the show. She wants a shout out to Gaz Abella. And she sent us 100 stars. How about that? Fantastic. 019, I'm still not really sure I know what a star is, but thank you very much. It's kind of like a thumbs up kind of emoji, and I really appreciate it, so thank you. 0191 488 3188. We have Deb, who is in Sunderland. Let's head off in that direction. Hopefully, here she is. Hi, Deb. Hello, Deb.
Hello.
Hello, darling. What can we do for you tonight?
Well, just a bit of blather.
Okay.
First, happy birthday to Jenny.
Yay.
Yay. Tender age of 84. Something. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's good.
But something is there. Anyway, just want to do a happy birthday, and I want to do a thank you. Most people do complaints. That's what you hear on the system. Right left and centre.
Right.
No. So what I really want to do is a thank you to two people in a small village called Hunton Henry.
Right.
Who went beyond the call because I was worried about my parents and the distance. you know, the elderly.
Right.
And I wanted them to check on them.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, they went out and they did more than I could have asked.
That's good. So who were these people? You might as well name them. Well done.
Yes. So it was Maureen Cole in Hunt Henry.
Right.
Went to check on my folks for a whole variety of medical reasons. Weren't having a good time.
Right.
But the point is, they went and
they cared enough to do it. And that's a lovely thing they did.
And it's not a small thing.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's personally.
No, absolutely, of course. They were
massive.
They were going to look after your people, of course. That's
at that moment, and that if that meant, you know, call the ambulance, call the whatever. You know, it would have been done.
Yeah, that was a lovely thing.
And it was massive to me.
Mm-hmm.
And they rang me back and said, "This is this and this." And I thought, oh, thank heavens for that. Finally got in contact with my folks. And everything for now is fine.
Yeah. You can be at ease when you know, but when you don't know and you've got no way of getting there yourself, then you need somebody else to pick up the baton and go and do it. So well done to Maureen. So
yes, absolutely. Massive thing from my point of view.
Sure. Okay. Anything else, then, Dev?
No. Long time since I spoke.
Well, welcome back. Thank you for doing that. I'm glad your parents are doing well too. Thank you for coming on, Dev.
Thanks.
Thanks, love.
You, Alan.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. There she is. And that is a massive thing. It's bigger than you would think. Let's talk to some stars. The stars come out at night on the Night Owls, Greatest Hits Radio Northeast. So let's have a chat with a band that you all certainly know about and most people with any sense love. We're talking Genesis. I had a chat with a band about, well, the early days.
Right at the very beginning, how aware were you that you were doing something that was absolutely different to anything else that was going on?
I think actually when we started off, we were sort of very determined to try and be different. I think we probably tried even harder. You know, you sort of, I think when you start off your career, as we did as songwriters, you've got a lot to prove. As the years go by and you sort of sell some records, I think you probably feel a little bit, as you don't try as hard, but the pressure's off slightly in a sense. You just do what you do. I think in the early days we were very much, and this is important, we were very much outside the rock business.
Yes, definitely.
Did our 6 months in the country cottage and sort of, as bands used to do, wrote our own stuff. We were very insular, I think, which is kind of, during that time we developed our sound, I suppose, and our way of working, which is sort of, we've retained, I think, over the years.
Yes, you have. But the kind of albums that you were coming out with were, I always viewed them as concept albums. Here's this huge thing that's full of different sounds and styles and full of different ideas, yet it gelled. Now, nowadays you hear an awful lot of albums that have a lot of different sounds on them and it doesn't work at all. How do you pull that together?
I don't know, I think we always think in terms of a whole album, really. I mean, the pacing, particularly in those early days, you know, you were thinking of the start and the finish and everything. It was a sort of very important aspect of it. It was the thing was supposed to be, we always designed it to be listened to in total, even when they weren't really concept albums. I mean, the only concept album we ever did was Lamb Last Night on Broadway. Really.
Yeah.
But and we still think that way to some extent. I know it's sort of old-fashioned, I suppose, because a lot of albums these days, you kind of put your strongest track as track one, side one. I mean, the first track, CDs, and your second strongest track is second, and the rest of it. You know, sorry, bring me into the 20th century.
Well, you see, I did take you back to those vinyl days.
Thinking of those days, you know, I was thinking of sides.
Yeah.
But no, I sort of miss that a bit on albums nowadays. Sometimes, you know, you don't get quite the pacing because CDs don't necessarily demand it in the same way, and you know that an awful lot of people sort of aren't going to listen to it like that anyhow. There's a lot of track selection goes on nowadays.
Yeah.
As the old days, it was kind of such an effort to take it off and put it on another track.
Yeah.
That you didn't do it.
Today, just nearly collapsed. Nearly. Just, yeah, I know you missed it. You're not going to get the money. Simple as. But no, they still specialise in boomer, the fisher folk, in what they did in the 1100s. They were famous for crabs, lobsters, and sea salmon, and that's still the case to this day. Now, if you stop here just briefly and you look down that road, the road that lies ahead, can you stick a light on it? It is Northumberland Street, Allenmouth, and that's the one that I know you can't drive down there. You always used to be able to go straight down to the coast, but they've zoned it off. But down there's the schooner, which has a bit of a haunted history, and is so bodacious about it. It even has haunted hotel written on the outside. Indian restaurant next door, I've noticed. It's relatively new. There's also 2 other pubs there that have been there from the 1700s, which is amazing. And even when you look behind you, you see tiny little niches like that. Beautiful looking bits of history that have obviously been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. And there's so much to tell you about it. From the very beginning, Boomer was a den of thieves. And remember, they were loading or unloading their stuff on the beach in Allenmouth because they couldn't put it down on the beach just at Boomer. And it's strange, seems strange how over the centuries we glamorize the criminal in many cases, transforming them into romantic figures, when at the time they terrorized and terrified ordinary people. Highwaymen, you get this image of Adam and the ants, the dandy highwaymen, but they were murdering, they were raping, but they're still pictured like devastating and charismatic. And this was usually pretty far from the truth. And smugglers kind of benefit from the myth rather than the fact. Most of them were violent, brutal, and desperate people who wouldn't let anybody stand in their way. So tonight, we're starting in the 1700s when the government were increasing taxes to pay for the war in France. Many ordinary things that most people would take for granted were suddenly too expensive and they were bought illicitly. Whiskey, gin, wine, spirits were all subject to such massive duty that it was cheaper to buy it from your local smuggler. And here on the northeast coast, from Boomer all the way down to Allenmouth, this was the major port, the major place where the smugglers existed. They used it for over 140 years, and the Boomer men, as they became known, they had areas that they smuggled from the Scottish borders down to Yorkshire, providing the cheapest, good quality items. They had entire chains of distributors marketing for them in Newcastle, Sunderland, Durham, York, Leeds, Harrogate, Sheffield even. And known merchants would take their stock and sell it at hugely inflated prices. And in the villages of places like Wooler, Jedburgh, Eyemouth, Yetham, and all over the Cheviot Hills, smaller dealers would franchise it out to create an unquenchable demand. They specialized in goods from their fellow rogues in France and Holland. And Tony, there was one of the things about the smugglers that a lot of you might not know is back then, because this was relatively poor, which is why the authorities left it alone. But if you think about what commodities we're talking about booze. Salt became very rare. Salt, now you'd think there's the sea, it's full of salt. However, it became a rarity, and the smugglers here decided they were going to start doing one of 3 things, and this is amazing. First of all, they said, well, let's buy loads of salt. This is like Kenny D's marketing plan on how this is what Kenny does. He sees something cheap and he sells it dear, which is brilliant. But that's exactly what they did back then. They bought tons and tons and tons of salt. Nobody could get their hands on it. But the Boomer men had warehouses full of tons of it. There's a place up the road here, about 4 miles away, where there's a thing called Salters Lane. And it's called Salters Lane because it led to a warehouse where they kept all of the salt. In Gateshead, Salters Road, have you heard of Salters Road? The Boomermen from this tiny little place had a warehouse in Gateshead. And that's why Salters Road gets its name, because it led to the warehouse where the salt was kept. So fortunes were made. Farmers had Boomermen knocking on their door saying, we want you to create us a hidey hole. Now, the word hidey hole, you think, probably as old as grass. Boomermen created the words hidey hole. And what they would do, they'd ask farmers to build an additional wall. So you got a farmhouse, there's the wall, then you'd have another wall built like that, so that it looked like if you're in the house, you see the wall, but behind the wall, they could keep salt, barrels of brandy, whiskey, rum, gin, and the tallymen couldn't get to it. It was really clever. There was a farmer who said that he wouldn't create a hidey hole for them. And they nailed him to a tree and they just let him die. And they told everybody, do not touch him, do not try and remove him. And he stayed there for something like 25 years. And every other farmer in the area had a hidey hole. And if they didn't want to build it onto their property, because many didn't, they'd dig a hole in their field, a big square, they'd line it with wood and sand behind the wooden paneling, and they'd keep all of the stuff, the salt in there. And it was all over this region, and every farmer did it. Now down here, this area that you're looking at here should be haunted as hell for 1,000 reasons. Because
the light outside out the corner of the eye, but it's actually the lighthouse. Look, the lighthouse.
Now the lighthouse in the distance, if you could just click on that, is it's actually in that direction, and you'll see it just in the distance. You'll see a little light clicking on and off, and we'll be telling you more about that particular place in part 2, because it's all to do with pirates. I mean, not smugglers. We're talking serious pirates. Now, do not forget, we go on. I've got to listen. Did you hear that?
What was that?
I've no idea. It came from down there. It was like a woo. The birds are doing us proud tonight, it has to be said. But this whole area, all the way down to the beach, which is probably a good 300, 400 yards, you'd say, down there, there's 1,000 stories. You know, we picture smugglers as jolly rogues, you know, and they certainly weren't. They were armed to the teeth with pistols and swords and bill hooks. They wouldn't do like any of the heavy lifting even to get other people to do that. But do you know when they landed? Oh, you've got to check out down here. I saw something dark just behind there. Yeah, it was beside the tree. Yeah, I saw something by the tree as well. What are smugglers have got to do with ice cream vans? Any idea?
No.
Well, when smugglers arrived, the rich people, all they did was turn a blind eye because they wanted the booze and they wanted it cheap.
4-0 and keep them in contention for the Champions League. They're up to 5th in the Premier League. Arsenal beat Newcastle 2-0. Rangers remain on course to go unbeaten in the Scottish Premiership this season after thrashing rivals Celtic 4-1. And British tennis number 2 Cameron Norrie's wait for a first ATP Tour title goes on after losing in the final of the Estoril Open. From Sky News, I'm Daryl Jackson.
Thanks, Daryl. Alan Robson with you, the Night Owls programme. And it is time for your first clue. Now, every show we give you the chance to win a prize, and the prize at the present moment is one of our glorious Night Owl mugs. If you fancy, it is waiting there for you. And all you have to do is come up with a greatest hit link. There's a link between 4 answers. I'm going to give you 4 clues. You will have 4 answers. The 4 answers, when you put them together, link to something, but you've got to tell me what that link is. Okay, that's the deal. The first clue, coastal town in Lancashire with a football club. Okay, coastal town in Lancashire with a football club. First clue, little bit, I'm not sure. By the time you get to every clue, you're going to have a job tonight. I think you'll struggle, but we'll see. Coastal town in Lancashire with a football club. There's a lot of them. Which one is it we're looking for? Maybe Google a few and just wait for the next clue and see if you can join them together anyway. Do not call in until you've got all 4 answers, okay? You don't have to get them all right. You just got to get the ultimate answer right. But don't ring in till you've heard the first clue. Right, let's get to it. Oh, we're off to Egton. Egton Bridge by the River Esk in glorious North Yorkshire, where, if you're a fan of your history, you can go and see the actual religious relics of Nicholas Postgate. There you go. How about that? Strange but true. We got Paul there. Hi, Paul.
Now, Alan.
Hello, mate. What can we do for you?
Well, first off, I first listened to you, I think, in about 1985.
Right. Lovely. Thank you.
I also got my wife to point out, you were on about Subaru cars here.
Yeah, are you one of these passionate Subaru owners, are you?
Well, I've had one for about 8 years, and its original exhaust wasn't too bad. So it went to Croxdale for a new exhaust, and it was like an original was a fortune, or the Pro Parts one was about 400 quid. So I got the Pro Parts, and it is quite noisy. But,
yeah. So what is that all about? Because it's the only car that I know that every time you see one seems to be just outrageously loud. How come every other car doesn't have this issue, but Subarus? Or is that what you want? Do you want people to know that you're coming like 10 minutes before you come around the corner?
I'd rather people didn't know it was me. But I think it's a bit of a bloke thing. Sometimes the type of the noise, certain ends will sound good and some don't, and different. Like Aston Martins sound nice, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think there's a massive difference, mind, between like the purring of Daniel Craig in one of those souped-up Aston Martins that he tends to even, run into the river in Prague. However, that to an exhaust that just seems to sound like it's going to burst into flames at any second, that's a different thing altogether, isn't it?
It's got 4 cylinders extra for a start, hasn't it?
That's true.
What the main thing for getting in touch was this things that should be made illegal.
Oh, go for it then.
Well, I remember about 20-odd years ago watching a film in the cinema called Gangster Number 1.
Right.
And all the way through, there was 2 fairly old women, I think, behind me talking non-stop.
Oh, not good.
It sounded like they smoked 80 woodbines a day as well, with the coughing and everything else.
Aye.
The whole film was ruined because of this non-stop cackling about.
Yeah. I hear you.
So that is a thing that should be made illegal.
100%. Talking in the cinema and also answering your telephone. That does your head in as well. That's a more recent kind of thing, but nasty all the same.
Yeah, like Dom Jolly used to do with the big mobile.
Hello! Absolutely. It's all that kind of thing. Why does anybody want you to hear their conversation when you're in the middle of watching a movie that you've probably paid like 10 quid a head for a ticket? I don't understand that at all. That's just craziness. Yeah. Okay. Anything else then, Paul?
The other thing, your ghost hunts and things you do.
Yes.
I know we're a bit out of the area down here, but you should do a few down here, I think.
Oh, we'll be doing that. We're working our way around. We're just seeing where we can get at the moment. And as soon as COVID's a different thing and we're back to normal, we'll be all over that place. Don't worry about it.
Smuggling at Saltburn and all sorts.
Oh, we've been down. I mean, we've been down as far as Nottingham. So, and we did a couple in the deep south. So we'll be we've been all over the world with it. So don't think Yorkshire's going to be an issue. We look forward to it. But thanks for being with us, Paul. Appreciate your time.
Nice talking to you, Alan.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye. And apologies to those of you at home. I know he was kind of cutting out a bit with the phone. I managed to make it out. Hope you did too. Also, can I tell you something that should be a criminal offence? Backstabbing. When somebody that you have time for, even respect for, stabs you in the back. Let me give you an example of this. Tony, our trusty taxi driver, this came in a little while, and I meant to read it out before one of the breaks. I just didn't get the time. And he says, about ugly people, Alan. You kind of already know where this arrow is going to be headed. Here we go. Ugly people. Alan, I know people with a face a dog wouldn't lick, but still managed to get married 5 times. Thank you, Tony, for that. And let's move to Bishop Auckland. We got Kevin there. Hello, Kevin.
Hi, Alan. How you doing?
I'm all right, mate. Thank you for asking. What's up? You got a bit of a situation, I hear.
Well, I'll tell you what it is, mate. I mean, I know sort of about what you want to say on criminal things.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Talk about anything you like, mate. That's what we're about, Kev.
I just want to talk about me teenage daughter who's having a really tough time at school with the lockdown and stuff.
Right. In what respect? How?
Well, she's lost a year of school, and it's I mean, our mother's tried to pluck out to try and teach her best she can.
Sure.
And we're not getting any feedback. You know, we're getting nothing whatsoever.
Right.
And all she does now, she's so like self-conscientious and well, what are my friends doing? How are they doing? Are they doing well in the exams?
Right.
You know, these mock tests, what they're doing, and it's breaking our hearts. I'll tell you, Alan, it really is.
Is she putting the effort in at home with mum?
Our mum tries doubly hard for her.
No, I bet
she does, and you believe me, our mum is a clever woman. She's the cleverest woman I know. Put it that way.
But is the Ben putting the effort in, knowing that it's not a teacher, it's just me mum?
Well, this is the question, Alan. Is the Ben just asking, like, my mum will do it for me anyway, or is it, do I want to put the effort in?
That's the tricky thing. And it's not about how clever mum is, it's how she can motivate the child to do it for herself. That's the thing.
Give her the benefit of the doubt. I mean, I'm an NHS worker, and our mother was an NHS nurse.
Right.
So, but we kept them out of school rather than send them to school. We could have put them to school, but that's putting pressure on the teachers, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but it is what they're for.
I know, but when you've got a COVID crisis on, you really want to minimise the risk of infection. Is that right?
Can't argue with that, right?
Right. Thank you very much. So, therefore, we chose to keep the kids off school. I mean, I'm 50-odd-year-old. I've got 4 daughters.
Right. I mean, did the school contact you or say it was all right to do that?
They gave me the option.
Right.
But me looking on the bigger scale, working for the NHS and realising how serious this infection was, I thought we'll keep ourselves in our bubble.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you.
So I think we did it very well, to be honest.
Good. No,
and,
it's good, but the kids have struggled a bit, you reckon?
And yes, they have.
Right.
And this is where the anxiety is coming from now, from my daughter, my wife, myself, in fact. And I'm just wondering how many other people out there are in the same boat as me, where you feel like you've just hit the end of the road and you can't help any further.
I think because you made the decision that you did, and I'm not saying it was right or wrong because it's not for me to say. Bottom line is, it's what you believe to be right, so therefore it's right for you. So I've got no argument with that because that's a parent's job. You know, to do the best they can for their family. So I'm not knocking that. But by doing what you did, you made a rod for your own back. Because many other people, probably your daughter's friends, were all at school. They were all mixing. They didn't have to ask, I wonder what everybody else is doing, because they were seeing them every day at the bus stop and going to school and during the school run and all that kind of stuff. And because all of that's kept happening on and off, granted, but it's been happening, and then they'll be off for 3 weeks, then they're back. But because they knew they were always going to go back to school, they haven't had a lot of the issues, of not seeing their friends, not feeling part of stuff, because we already know, and again, from the NHS, that young people are less at risk than older people, and that the percentage chance of them suffering with it is fairly low. So the going to school thing, for most parents, wasn't even an issue. They were going to go to school whenever the school opened and allowed them to go. You chose not to, and it's led to, frankly, if you did let them go to school, that could have been issues too. You never know. But the thing about school, the one thing, even if you don't like school, the one plus that it has, it makes the people that go feel like they're a part of something, and there's always something going on. And did you hear what Shirley said about Jane? And oh yeah, she's going to get that back. Oh, did you see on Facebook what they said? It's that interacting thing, and when kids don't have that, especially if they don't have it for month after month after month.
I know what you're saying, Alan, but what it is, right? My wife and I both work for the NHS.
I hear you.
And then my wife wasn't. She stopped working for them, so she was at home.
Right.
And I felt obliged for my wife to homeschool the kids. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Was that your choice, or was it your wife's choice?
Well, no, because she wasn't working for the NHS any longer. And for how can I put it? For a bit of moral standing, that if I'm at work and you're at home, we can look for the kids,
Well,
so
yeah, but what did your wife say when you first said to her?
Well, I think she would, given the choice again, she would have said send them to school.
Yeah.
Well, because we have a moral standing, therefore, if you've got a parent at home, you should homeschool your kids. And this is what I'm saying.
Right.
But it proved so difficult, and I couldn't turn around and say, right, send them to school halfway through this lockdown. Why wouldn't they in the first place? You know what I mean? That was the question to be asked by.
Yeah, but you see, when I said you'd made a rod for your own back, that's exactly what I'm.
Yeah, I understand.
That's exactly what I meant, because in your wife didn't want to do it. Ultimately, she bowed to what your suggestion.
She probably did. I mean, she loves our kids.
Yeah, well, it's not about love. This is just about what are you going to do. If the government tell you, and the NHS, the people you work for, say that your kids are odds on going to be safe and good odds to be all right, but you said, oh, hang on, no, we'll take the weight off all of these teachers. Well, that's what teachers are for, and I wouldn't have worried about it.
Well,
but it doesn't change the situation now. You did what you did, so forget about the rights and wrongs of that. It's how do you put it right now? And are they back at school?
Well, yes, they're back at school. I mean, all kids are back at school. But what I'm saying is, though, when you've got an obligation to try and distance yourself from everyone, we did our very best to do that.
No, I hear that, but you see, arguably, if you take that route, then every other member of the NHS who let their kids go to school was letting the side down, and I don't think that's true.
I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but it's just the effect what it's had on the ones who've not gone to school.
Yeah, but that was inevitable. It was inevitable if they're not mixing, and all of the kids that kept going to school all the way through haven't missed a beat. They've had a bit of time off, but they kept seeing each other.
I've spoken to a few parents, and they've said that the kids have gone backwards.
Oh yeah, well everybody has, because they haven't been getting the education that they should have had.
So my question was, right, so how can we help these kids now to try and build the confidence back up and get them back to where they were before this lockdown? Because I mean, it was a big shock for everyone. We all know that.
No, for sure. But you see, do you not think that will happen?
Bringing them back to the confidence what they had, and get the government and the teachers to say, look, you might fail one exam. Because, I mean, failing one exam could crucify one kid. You know that, don't you?
Well, I do, but it's just, do you not think that the thing that you want, which is essentially to get them back to where they were, because you're not going to get them back to where they should be, because they've missed a year.
Well,
But to get them back to where they were before the whole thing started...
Here lies the problem, right? Because the teachers are expecting this homeschooling and everything what they've been by producing online, the kids have got to do, and they think, yeah, it's brilliant.
No, I hear that.
What,
Well, I tell you what,
work.
let's ask other parents who are in the same situation
Well,
where they are and what they did. Let's find out. We'll get
I'm
them.
a one-man person.
We'll find
I'm asking the question for lots and lots of other parents.
No, I know that,
who are
Kevin.
probably in the same boat as me. And
Absolutely.
if they can all get on you and say, hey, Alan, I'm glad that the fella came on the show.
I'm sure that'll happen, Kevin. Thank you very much. We'll see what happens.
And thank you, Alan.
No problem. Thanks a lot. I got to question stuff like that because he went against what a lot of people did automatically. I'm not saying that's wrong. It's his choice to make. Was it right? Was it wrong? Your kids will not have had the education they would have had. Is it better? Is it worse? Have they had the issues that Kevin's kids have? Let's have another star coming out at night. And Sister Sledge, about starting out. How did it start for you, Joni? I mean, when you were a little girl, was it always going to be music? Or?
Well, I think it's all our grandma's fault because she was an opera singer. And when we were little, she taught us harmony and she taught us appreciation for music. So it's all her fault. Anyway, we love it. We didn't start out to do it, but it's always been a part of our lives. And I don't know what I'd do without music. I'm lost in music.
I remember hearing one of the early singles and thinking, what a great band this bunch are. But nobody could have dreamed that you would have the amount of hits and hits that would stick like they did.
Thank you so much. We had no idea either. We were just out there having fun. I think that's the most important thing about music.
No,
having fun,
absolutely.
Relating to people, getting out there and just saying, welcome aboard. Come on, let your hair down.
It was all about image as well in the late 70s, early 80s. It was the look, and you didn't have wear some peculiar outfits in your time.
Well, thank you. You know what? We did have some crazy clothes back then. We still have crazy clothes. It's life. I say.
Hand cart, and they drive the cart through the town with a fiddler on the back playing his fiddle to attract people to come out of their house to buy the illicit booze. And it's believed that ice cream men play their little tune to click into that old thing from 300-400 years ago that the smugglers used to do. How fantastic. So next time you hear ice cream man, they're copying what smugglers did right here in our own backyard. I keep feeling stuff from down there too. It might just be me, but there's a car coming down. Watch yourself, fellas. Just be careful.
How can you win a badge?
Oh, that's a good idea. That was the plan. I was trying to point you towards my rather beautiful Night Owls badge. If you share this particular stream, and please share it with as many people as you can, everybody that shares goes in the hat, and one of you this Sunday will be named on the stream as the winner, the recipient of only our second official Night Owl badge. So that's what you can do.
And sign card.
And we can get a sign thing from me as well. But yeah, we'll all make sure we sign it for you. But fascinating. Just all of the stuff that's here. You know, the stuff that you don't know. It's happened right on your own back door. It's that kind of thing that really gives me a buzz. And I must say, down here, looks great. And we're already getting kind of odd noises from down there too. Let's crack on and see what else we've got down here. So we mentioned all the hidey holes. Many a legend came from this part of Alma, especially down in this area. There used to be a man called John Harker from Boomer, and he ran a tavern on Northumberland Road that we've just passed. The tavern's called the Red Lion. It's still there on the main street. He had a falling out with his illegal supplier, and the smugglers informed on him, saying that he was in charge of a gang bringing in gin and spirits from Holland. So the Boomer men planted goods in his stable. He was arrested and sentenced to hang. But as soon as that happened, he decided, well, hey, we're not having that. I'm going to inform on all the other genuine smugglers. So he was still in prison, but he made his promise. And on the day, oh, hang on.
I've seen the branches moving down there. I don't know.
I think I just heard a frog.
Is that what it is?
Yes, it sounded froggy.
It sounded...
It's definitely something. It is a swamp down there, though, so they could live down there. Do you think?
Yeah. But you see, this used to be the ground where the all of the illicit goods would come up from the dock. In fact, at one time, the sea came up this far. This was sea before it was bog. So obviously the sea on its way out. But Harker, on the day that he was due to give his testimony, was found in his cell with his skull shattered. And some say that along this area, overlooking the sea, is where his ghost can be seen. And we'd love Harker to make an appearance tonight. Also, oh, there you go. This is more like it. If you can imagine the sea just coming up to here, you know, literally. And now it's swamp and marsh. And the story of Wully Farr, the king of the gypsies. He got caught. He got trapped and captured by the Tallymen here. He was trying to escape them. Oh, hang on. I thought it sounded like a girl's voice. Could have been Birdie. If there's a bird that sounds like a... Ah!
All the birds suddenly just stopped.
Did you notice?
All of a sudden, they just
everything.
Stopped.
And they were crazy.
That's strange.
Why would you do that? But no, the ghost of Harker should be around here. But there was a story about a Dutchman called Albrecht who decided he was going to come and try and steal a bit of the action from the Boomer men. And a guy called Henry, who was a Boomer man, said, "You're not selling..." Sorry?
I just saw something on the pitch glow.
Glow?
Was not saying there.
Could be.
But it's not glowing.
There's a sign there. Look.
Ah.
I don't know if it's that.
Well, anyway, this Dutchman came over. Oh, this is wild. We're going to get stuff tonight. Yeah, you could feel it. We're going to go down amongst all of this stuff. It's the first time we've ever done a beach-related thing, and we're certainly going to end up on a beach where so many things happened. But this guy, Albrecht, he owned a tavern in Roker in Sunderland, which ironically to this day is still called The Smugglers. And he began to bring in his own stuff, and it ended up in a duel on the sea frontier. The Boomer man called Henry decided to walk 10 paces and then you turn and fire your pistols. But Henry ignored this, and with 2 pistols, he turned around and he began following Albrecht.
Of the North.
Greatest hits radio.
Alan Robson with you, and the first clue was delivered. A coastal town in Lancashire. Timbo says there's 29 of them, 2 on the coast. There you go. Oh, it's one of them. But which one? You got 3 more clues that'll help gauge your way to it. More stars coming out at night, but let us go and talk to Sue, who's in Washington. Hi, Sue.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, love. So, what are you talking about tonight?
Well, your subject, I've got a list.
I'll go for it.
Right. People who don't pick up the dog poo
right.
and just leave it. Yeah. and also postal, like delivery people, people who put junk mail in your door. Ignore my notice on the door, which says disabled person lives here. Please be patient, because obviously I'm a little bit slower getting to the door,
Right.
and they just can't wait for 2 minutes, so that gets on the goat. And it says no junk mail as well, and yet they still put junk mail in, which annoys us.
Absolutely. Do you ever have that thing when, because there's a lot of people that aren't GPO anymore who deliver parcels, from Amazon and all these other, this YouTube, all the various different companies that send stuff out. And if they'll knock on the door, they'll go, knock, knock. And then if you're not there within 3 minutes, it's either behind the bin, on the doorstep, and they're away.
Yeah.
I've noticed that a lot, and you think, how many of these parcels must get pinched? Because if you don't answer the door, it might be because you're not in.
I'll tell you what, I'll go on to this one. I've got a few more, but I'll go on to this one.
Okay.
People should be arrested or thrown into jail who think it's okay to pinch a parcel that's been delivered to them, but they take it. It's for the next door neighbour, but they take it to hand it back, and obviously now the delivery people have to take a photo for evidence.
Right.
And they take photos of even my medication. They take a picture to say it's been delivered.
Right. Right. So you've got a drug dealer that delivers to you, Sue.
No, it's my medication.
That's what you'd say to us. Oh, we believe you.
No, my friend was expecting some parcels. She's been really, really ill.
Right.
And she got them for Christmas for her family. Mm-hmm. And because they couldn't get hold of my friend, because obviously she's like me, she's disabled, and they couldn't get no answer, so they sent it to next door. They took a photo, so she knew the doorstep. And it was a few weeks after, and her husband says, "Did they come?" And she went, "Oh, no, I'll have a look." So anyway, she got in contact with them, and they said, "Oh, they delivered it to the next door neighbour." And they sent her the photo. She went, "Yeah, I know who that is." And the driver said, "Look," he says, I'll go and knock on the door and see if I can retrieve them."
Right.
And the woman refused, and she said, "No parcel was delivered here. I never took a parcel."
But she's on picture, isn't she?
Yeah, I've got the photo. No, she just denied it. So the delivery driver said to my friend, "Well, it'll just go down as a lost parcel and I'll get charged." She went, "No, you won't, because it's not lost, it's stolen." So she spoke to them, and he didn't get docked or anything like that, But it's disgusting that they can think of it's all right to do that,
Well, I presume they're playing the odds that, well, surely nobody's going to take me to court for one missing item. I mean, was it worth a lot of money, the parcel stuff?
I think about 30 quid's worth.
That's enough, isn't it?
That's not the point.
No, it's not. No, it's
not the
absolutely not the point. Yeah.
You
But they're banking that they'll not take her to court for 30 quid, because to book a solicitor to send her a letter is 50 quid. So you can see how she's playing it, and it's not right, and she should be done for it, especially if you've got the proof of a photograph. She's taken.
God, yeah.
She asked, "Will you take a parcel in for next door?" Every house in Britain's had that at one time or another. You take the parcel, you wait till you see the neighbour, and you pop round and say, "That arrived today." That's just being a good person, as opposed to a thief. It's totally wrong. What else you got on your list then, Sue?
People who don't have a blue badge and they park in the disabled parking bays.
Absolutely.
The same with parent and child.
Mm-hmm.
They park and there's no child in the car.
Right.
And it's ridiculous.
Well, hang on. You see, there is a grey area there. There's a grey area, and I must admit, because I did once park in a parenty thing, and I was thinking, I know, and I thought at the time, well, I am a child. I was a child. I was a child once, and I tried to rationalise it, and then I felt guilty, so I haven't done it since. But I did think, well, I'm a child. I have been a child. my parents may well be dead now, but that doesn't mean that I'm still not their child. So, no, it didn't work in my head, so I haven't done it since, but I was naughty.
Yeah.
Okay, what else then?
Parents who refuse to teach children manners. There's so many disrespectful children now. It blows my mind. I'm like, how are you brought up? Like, you know.
Yeah, and also if you see them when they're like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in there talking crap to people, what are they going to be like when they're 16 or 18?
Well, there was a load of teenagers in the shopping centre in the galleries on Friday, I think it was. And there was about 10 of them. Mm-hmm. Not one of them, they'd all just finished school, and not one of them had a mask on. And the security bloke was following them to make sure that they just got out of the place, you know. Mm-hmm. And I said, you should tell, you know, he said, we can't do anything. You know, they're not allowed to do anything. They just have to follow them and try and get them out, you know. They can't turn around and say, you've got to put a mask on.
You would have thought, I mean, my version of that would have been, they've got them on camera, you know, the kids, because there'll be CCTV there, and they'll film them and say, look at this crowd, we want to make sure that they don't do anything. Mm-hmm. They'll have them on film without masks on. They should take a copy of that and send it to the school and say, can you have a word with these pupils, because they're not representing your school very well. They should have a mask on in here.
Yeah,
because that's what it says.
Idea, you know? That, like.
And I presume you're talking about the galleries because you're Washington. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Because they have stickers on the outside doors of the galleries saying that you're expected to wear a mask in shops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they've got the power to do something. When I hear people say, well, there's nothing I can do, there's nearly always something you can do if you're prepared to put yourself out to do it. That's the thing.
But you just get a load of cheek back from them, and then you're the bad one, aren't you, really?
That's why you pass it on to the school to do it, because they'll be able to say, that's Thompson from 2A3 or whatever. You know, they'll know who they are, what classes they're in. They'll be able to ID them, I'm sure. And then, if needs be, contact their parents and say, do you know that your little Billy's been doing this, that and the other? So
that's a good idea. I'll mention that. Get the photos up and point out the school. Yeah, that's
worth a go.
Schools where they come from. Aye. Okay. And also parents who refuse to believe that their child is naughty, even though they have so many calls to go up to school about them. Yeah. And they'd be like, oh, no, my son doesn't do this. You know, my daughter or son are really well behaved.
Yeah, my dad went the other way. You see, and this is I don't know whether this is just a generational thing, because I have come across people that are, you know, I don't want to name names because they'll identify themselves. I've got a friend of mine who lives on Teesside, and for about 5 or 6 months, other friends have told me his daughter's a cracker. She's doing all the wrong things, messing with all the wrong people. She's going to be pregnant before she gets to 16, and all of these things I'm hearing from other friends. Yet when I talk to her dad, oh, she's doing really well. She's going to be this and she's going to do that, and we've really been impressed with how well they love her. You know, she's their bairn. I get it, but everybody else is saying what a nightmare she is, and you cannot say, look, be realistic. You know, this is what everybody else thinks of her. But because, you know, and when I was at school, I would often see parents going up to school to complain because a teacher's kept their little hero for detention, or given them lines, or, you know, sent them home because they did something. My little boy wouldn't do that kind. And they nearly always do it. They nearly always do.
Mm-hmm.
My dad acted in the other way. If even I hinted that I'd been told off that day, I'd get a walloping from him, you know, just to keep me on the straight and narrow. So other parents do it in other ways, but I've never understood these parents that, you know, the butter wouldn't melt in my child's mouth because we've seen it up front and personal.
I don't believe anyone's children are perfect.
No way.
That
is for sure. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
What else then?
Another disability one. I was in my wheelchair, waiting at the counter to return something. My husband was pushing us in the wheelchair.
Right.
There was a woman in front of us who was getting served. When she had finished, there was two women behind my wheelchair, and the woman said, "Who's next, please?" And they just literally pushed in front of us. And I mean, my husband was like, he wasn't quick enough, and I just went, "It was me. I was next. You know, I'm in the wheelchair, and I'm not invisible." You know, and they was like, "Oh, sorry." You know, and I really, really hate that. I mean,
because if you had said nothing, they'd have got away with that, and you did exactly the right thing. I think it's a bit sad though that your bloke says he wasn't quick enough. He was probably just as surprised as you were that these people tried to push in. But I'm just looking at the notes I've written down while you've been talking. First of all, you mentioned that your drug dealer comes and drops the drugs off in the house, and now you say you were in the pharmacy with your pusher. How about that? Blimey, we're getting a picture. We're getting a picture of you, sir. We're getting a picture. Right. Anything else then?
No, the man who phoned about his daughter and the homeschooling.
Yes, Kev.
I mean, to be honest, I mean, his wife has probably done as best she could.
Sure, I'm sure.
And now his daughter is back at school. She might be finding it really hard because obviously at school teachers are more pressure, aren't they?
Sure, of course.
So, and maybe, she's missed a year. It could be really getting to her, and that could set her back even further, you know, like with her mental health and things like that.
No, absolutely. I'm hoping, for Kevin's sake and for the sake of anybody else who's done the homeschooling thing, because many people have, I just hope that once she gets back into a regular routine and she's surrounded by all of her friends, because everybody's at a slightly different... You know, when you're at school, you're roughly at the same level as everybody else in your class. But because of this, and some people have had lessons and some have been computer lessons at home and others homeschooling, every family seems to have done it a slightly different way. I just hope that once all the kids get back together again, and, you know, they start to support each other, I'm hoping that that'll lift her back up again and let her realise that she's not the only one that's, you know, that's not quite sure where she's going, because I don't know how any child can know where they're going, because they've had no continuity across the year at all.
Exactly, and I just think, oh God, she's probably finding it really hard to get back in the swing of things. She's probably not, even though her mum has done her best, it's not like school. Is it? It's not like school. And I know from my stepdaughter, she was teaching the grandchildren, and they never had no set routine. Whereas at school, you're there at 9 o'clock, you've got your whole day planned out. Right. I mean, she had to work from home as well as, you know, even though she said, well, it's all on the computer. It's just making sure they get on with it, and it's not easy. You know?
No,
so I just hope, I mean, she will catch up. I mean, it's just really difficult for her, and I really do feel for parents who've had to go through all this, and she will catch up. I mean, I'm 53, right? And we learned fractions, but I can't tell you a time when I've had to use fractions leaving school.
No, the thing that about homeschooling, a parent might have an idea of the direction that children are going in, and, well, we're doing this in history or we're doing this in geography, but it's only when you've got a teacher that you can say, yeah, but does this mean we do that, or does this mean we do this? And you find yourself learning this big wide thing when you should only be going down a particular avenue. I think it's... You need a teacher and you need somebody to bounce off, and I don't think you can do that by saying, well, I'll send a message and then it takes a whole day to get the answer, and then you can it's not the same as being in class and putting your hand up, you know. That's never going to be the case. But hey, fingers crossed, let's hope that everybody catches up, gets up to speed, and starts to tear off into a successful future. That's what we want for our kids. But Sue, thank you very much, darling. Good job.
Thank you, Alan.
Thanks for ringing. Bye-bye. What do you think about all of that? A lot of potential criminal activity that we should deal with? What should be a criminal offence? We've had a lot of great suggestions in. I'm sure we will get more. We have Edwin, who is in Gateshead. Hello, Edwin.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, sir. What can we do for you?
It's just I had me shed attempted breaking in. Me shed. It must have been last week or something.
Right.
I've got the council coming round on Thursday.
Right.
Sees on Thursday. I think it's a school next door, but I've got no proof. But I'm gonna get CCTV put up. They've had people visiting them when lockdown was on. They've had people visiting them. But they've had loads of trouble with them over the years. And I had a fight with a boyfriend that was living with her. And I think he went back to Liverpool, or wherever he was from, Edinburgh or somewhere.
Right, so what is this? You've got the council coming to see you because your neighbour's a problem?
A
Gotcha.
problem family next door.
How long they been in there for then?
Oh, I've been there before. I've been here 20 years. They were here just before I moved in.
What? So you put up with it for 20 years?
Yeah, exactly, aye. Exactly, aye.
But I mean, every day you'll be picking fault with them.
Well, you keep thinking it's going to get better. I was even thinking about buying a house, but I think you said, what's the point, really?
Yeah, what's the point if you're not happy with the people there?
She's got one of these vine trees that keeps standing between the fence. I've got to keep cutting that back.
Right.
She's one of the fences pulled up a bit at the bottom. The Ben was saying, "I hope you die in the garden." when she's in the garden with him, like that last caller has just been on about problem kids and that prize idiots. You know what I mean?
And yet, presumably, then they haven't done anything so bad that the council are going to kick them out. I'm presuming the council properties, otherwise you would have
trouble with them. She's had a car cell late in the street. She's been run off the road. Somebody tried to kill her a while ago, run off the road. Because we had a mediator a while ago, even though they knew she was the one that was in the wrong.
Right.
My partner, she had to go into the room, had to see a mediator. And then when she went in because she was crying more. She went in, and he says, "Well, no, she's the one in the wrong, but we've got to see how she reacts to what we say to her." But now whatever happened about it, you know, and she must have bought a house now because she's taking bits and pieces to her car.
Right.
But she's an idiot, you know. She's one of these type of people that wants attention all the time. She's always got kids around the door, like her son's mates around the door.
Right.
They're being cheeky and that, you know, sarcastic and that, and they come into the house, you know.
Yeah, it's tough though. I mean, why'd you stay? Because you talk about I nearly bought my house.
I've done the canny bit of the house with what money I've had, and I've got to try to be able to start that on again elsewhere. And if I could guarantee getting good neighbours elsewhere, I would move.
Yeah.
I would definitely move, but you can't guarantee that.
I just don't know how you've put up with 20 years of it, though. Hell's teeth.
I know, yeah, exactly. There's even been swag gun in the house. She sees the wall last one day, was sitting on the wall and the shoplifters. She sees I get stuff knocked off and I take it back to the shop. She sees I could have been anybody. So I could have been anybody, and she was Danny. I mean, her auntie's a copper. She says I could have been anybody.
Yeah.
You know,
they don't care though. When you are of that sort, and you want everything to be a drama, and you want everything to be about you.
Oh, that's what she's like.
They don't care though.
That's what she's like. That's what she's like.
Yeah.
Like I say, she had people visit her when lockdown was on. Anything where it's going to make her look like she's hard or people are frightened to do anything against her.
So what's the hope of having the council round then? Because you've been down that road before.
I don't know. She sees we can go to see them, but as I said to all us, I think I get CCTV put up.
Right, then you've got some evidence.
The CCTV across the road, the lads go across the road, but I didn't have to be able to look at his CCTV to see who's been at my shed,
right.
to see who could have been at the shed.
Right.
I don't know if he would allow that, but I'm going to have to get that put up at some point.
You can maybe have a word with them, though, because if they're a pain in the tail to you, they'll be a pain in the tail to other people in the street.
No, everybody. When I phoned up the complaint, that's how I ended up fighting with a boyfriend, because her son's not picking up my son at school.
Right.
They're older than him, so I checked one of them. Just verbally checked them, you know.
Yeah.
And I went to put my car in the garage and he just stepped back, come run, stay away from my kitchen by the council. So you don't yourself with attitude.
Yeah.
But
you're on a hiding to nothing, though, are you, though? Because it seems, though, that they know the law better than the police. They know what they can get away with. They know what they can say. They know what's not going to get them into trouble, even though it's causing problems for everybody else in the street.
Cannabis in the street.
Yeah.
When you take the dog for a walk, you smell cannabis.
Yeah.
In the house,
spotted a man. Spotted a mile off. Hey, well, good luck with the council. Let's hope you can make a difference. And maybe once you've got the cameras up, maybe you'll get a bit of evidence. You never know.
Well, I'd see it's just so I can down our wall after this flat, because she's got a flat of water fence. I can go over there, and if I can run the CCTV, so it's keep an eye on the house.
Right.
Put some spy cameras up and that, so keep an eye on the house.
So that they can't see that they're there.
It's what you've got to do, with people with screws like this.
Sad, though. Sad that you need to. But good luck, Ed.
Thanks, mate.
Hope it works for you, man. Oh, what a shame. I hate the fact that you get one family full of turds and the entire estate suffers because of one dodgy family. And I've seen it time and time and time again. Used to have that in the West End when I was growing up, and you think, what? Why do they just not get along with people? But they don't. They set themselves up against them so that it's all about them. Anyway, this has just come in as well. Who's this from? Is any name attached? No name, but it says, oh yes, I think it might be Chris. It says, hi Alan, I hope you're well. In one weekend, I've managed to crash my car. No. And I have a hefty vet's bill of about £2,000 out of my pocket since Friday. But I'm really glad to hear your show to cheer me up a bit. It's a weekend to forget, and it's supposed to be like the opening weekend of all this cool stuff. Heavy breathing, you'll get through it. I'll dedicate a track to you from a superstar, Billy Ocean. I asked him about his best and worst bits. What's been your best bit and worst bit in the entertainment business? You're highlighting
my best bit, I think, was really, having, Caribbean Queen being a hit, which sort of brought me to the attention of the world. It probably isn't the best record I've made. It probably isn't my favourite, but it is, from a material point of view, because of what it did. I always sort of, it's really, it's high up. I mean, as far as videos and things are concerned, I cannot cancel out the video I did with Danny DeVito and Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner. That's great. The worst thing really was once I was doing a video by a track, on a track called Nights Feel Like Getting Down with a Tiger. And the tiger was very kind because the tiger had had enough. And she just opened her mouth and my whole leg was just swallowed up.
Wow.
But for some strange reason, she didn't grip. And she just sort of took her mouth out, and there was all this saliva on my trousers.
Oh, my. That could have been so different, couldn't it?
We stopped. The video was finished. Because really and truly, the video was finished. But in this business, we tend to go for one more. I remember doing vocals where I think I've done my best vocals, working with other producers, and they say, Billy, one more. And you've done it. Yeah. In this case, it was the same thing. I've done it. I really felt, this is it, we've done it. But the producer said, one more and more smoke. Well, of course, smoke and animals don't really go together. And the tiger had really had enough. But he told me in the best possible way, because if he'd gripped, I would have been legless.
Yeah.
And that's not legless from drinking a few pints of Guinness.
No, not at all, no.
My man, and their empire was growing. They moved further south, Marsden Rock. Tony, I'm sure an awful lot of the night owls might remember we went to Marsden Rock and we drank from the chalice behind the bar. The chalice behind the bar was the last thing that a boomer man held in his hand. He was a boomer man in the bar. The tally men came in, shot him, and the chalice was cursed. And I washed it out and had a drink from it, and I'm all right up till now. But how amazing it was a boomer man. It was boomer men who dug out those steps in the sea wall next to the Marsden Rock so you could get off the beach carrying a couple of boxes of booze. So this links to so many places where you guys live or have certainly been. I don't know about you, but once again, the birds have just completely left it. And I don't fully understand.
I certainly coincide with that voice, like a weird voice.
There was certainly something strange.
Eerie, isn't it?
It is.
It is quiet.
Absolutely. Now, Tony, if you can just look over there, if you follow the land down, you see the land in the distance, Kenny, higher than that, right in the distance. Do you see how it falls down towards the sea? It just gets lower and lower and lower. Right at the very end, there's a cliff over there. And the smugglers got hold of this family, a merchant called Spencer. He'd refused to buy from them, and they thought they could make an absolute fortune if he would, because he had influence. So he dragged the family to the cliff top over there. There stood his wife, an elderly mother, and 3 children, and their 2 pet dogs. The smugglers demanded that he allow them to provide all of his stock. He refused, so they threw his 2 dogs off the cliff, and they exploded, burst on the rocks below. Then they grabbed hold of his mum, slapping her to the ground, and a boomer man put a pistol into her mouth, guided her to the edge of the cliff, and as she reached the edge, he fired, sending her cannoning up into the air and then down to the rocks. Spencer then agreed to do whatever they wanted and worked with them for 4 years until he then did a deal with the tally men. And 5 were killed in battle, 18 hanged, 11 imprisoned for life. So he got his own back, you could argue. Oh, hang on. They say he got his own back. The boomer men never let anything go. And eventually, they'd come and they burst into his house. His wife was heavily pregnant. She was raped by the gang in front of her husband, and the children hacked to death. And Spencer was forced to eat the heart of his 7-year-old daughter. Then he was dragged behind a horse up to the end, to that cliff that we've just pointed to, all the way off there in the distance. And they made him walk over the edge of the cliff into nothingness. And to be honest, the people at the time said he was so crazed over what he'd seen with his family that he welcomed death by then. So many things happened in this part of the world. And there's got to be stuff here. There's got to be stuff tonight. Keep your eyes open, everybody at home. And don't forget, share for the badges. And spread the word. Do not forget that part 2 will be for supporters, and we would love you to join our ever-growing bank of supporters. I mentioned the king of the gypsies. His name was William Farr, F-A-A, Wooly Farr. And he had a boat called the Aids. And the tallymen once chased that boat all the way down to Robin Hood's Bay and back to Boomer. And Wooly Farr jumped off the boat and ended up in a battle with the tallymen, who hacked him with a sabre and cut 3 fingers off his hand. Then he leapt down into that boggy ground that we've just passed, not so far away. And that was weird. Did you see that? It was just over here beside the tree. I don't know whether it was just the way the torches maybe hit the tree, because it sends shadows in all kind of directions. It just looked like there was something. Whoa!
Your voices.
I don't see anybody, do you?
I heard something.
Maybe a smuggler on his way to sell his wares. But anyway, Willie Farr was captured. He was hanged outside a tavern as a warning to all the other smugglers, and there's a rhyme about it. Canny old Willie Farr of Kirk Yetton, the lad who brings us all we need, was slashed and lost his fingers and all we watched him bleed. A canny lad, a canny sinner, a whiskey man and a ginner. Another told of Willie Farr's love for the ladies. Poor Willie Farr, the Yetum soul, took Catherine Dodds to his hidey hole, romanced that lass for 7 nights, and still winn't marry her. The Boomer men also had a last hurrah. Tony, just bear with me a second because we have to show. Hang on. Boom. You see that building there? No, the one that my torch is on, Kenny.
All right, yeah.
You see it?
Yeah.
That used to be the Methodist Church. Now, John Wesley, who was the man who created Methodism, he came to Alnmouth, and while he was here, he said, "It is a beautiful small port, yet it is filled with wickedness," because obviously, yeah, you could not deny there was a lot of bad stuff going on. And John Wesley came here, and that was the church that he came to visit at the time. So many just short stories. You know, there's a pointy church with a pointy steeple just a little bit further over. During the American War of Independence, John Paul Jones, the famous privateer, came here. Remember, this was the sea, right the way up here, and he fired cannon shots at the church. So important was Alnmouth back in the day. But the story that we've come to tell you about from here, the main one, is down on the beach.
Everyone's here for the same reason, aren't they? And
Yeah.
it's like, it's going to be nice. It's maybe a bit emotional as well, actually.
Oh, yeah.
It's part of the government's trial events programme, which is looking at how we get crowds back to mass events. Officials in the UK have downplayed the prospect of the imminent release of Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe from Iran. It was suggested on Iranian state TV that Britain would pay a £400 million debt to secure her release. In sport, Arsenal have beaten Newcastle 2-0 in the Premier League. Tottenham thrashed Sheffield United 4-0. Meanwhile, Rangers eased to a 4-1 victory over rivals Celtic in the Scottish Premiership. F1 world champion Lewis Hamilton has also won the Portuguese Grand Prix. And singer Ellie Goulding has given birth. Her husband Casper Jopling says both her and the baby are happy and healthy. That's the latest from Sky News. I'm Daryl Jackson.
Thank you, Daryl. Alan Robson with you, and lots to talk about. Pick up your telephone. We have like a chat thing on YouTube that it's interesting because I pop into it and I have a read every now and then. But it is irritating because just in one area. Now, I know some people have one belief about COVID and others have a different belief. But the thing that's interesting is the people who deny COVID or have issues with COVID refuse to let people who have a different opinion have a different opinion. And then, of course, if you say, why don't you let people have an opinion, it's not all about you, then, oh, you're trying to shut me up, you're part of them in all of this kind of BS. And it is BS. Because the bottom line is you don't get banned if you play nice. Play nice on there or you don't get to be on there. That's it. And what I'm going to start to do, and I'm going to ask Tony, because Tony has to keep an eye on it, I'm blissfully out of the whole thing. I'm going to suggest that we ban people permanently rather than just for a week. So play nice and you can say what you like, but don't insult other people because that just makes you ignorant. And it doesn't matter if you think, well, I know everything. And my grandmother happens to be Dr. Fauci in New York. And whatever, it doesn't matter. Just treat people nicely, kindly, with respect. It really works. You know, love is the answer, not negativity and insults. Let's swiftly move on to your second clue. We are looking for something kind of greatest hitty. Yeah, because we're looking for our greatest hit link. 4 clues, 4 answers, and all of the answers are integrally linked to one thing. And you've got to come up with that one thing. The first clue is this: coastal town in Lancashire. Okay? Coastal town in Lancashire. Second clue: Al had a massive hit called I'm Tired of Being Alone. Okay. Okay. Who had a hit with that? I'm so tired of being alone. Brilliant song. Al sang it. What was Al's surname? Okay. That is your second clue. And you've got 2 more clues to come. See if you can work them out. Now, just before we go across, talk to David in South Shields, we had somebody who is called Neil. I'm not going to say where he's from because his family are in bits due to domestic abuse. And when we ran the thing at the top of the show, what should be a criminal offence, he sent me a lengthy letter about the sexual abuse that his wife had with her father and said, are we the only family going through it? Absolutely not. I just had a very swift look at our call file and there's some horrors in there. But your dad was a child abuser and a sexual assaulter and a predator who preyed on young people, you included. He's dead. He was a scumbag. He's now a dead scumbag. And I can understand you having a jumble of emotions, but on behalf of everybody else, we're glad that our children aren't at risk anymore.
Well, that's nice.
I'm not sure it's nice,
Well,
but it's honest.
it's honest and it's positive.
Keep your chin up, darling. You'll get through it. You've got to start again now. Yes, there's a vacuum. That vacuum, instead of being filled with something unpleasant, nasty, I wonder when he's going to get out eventually.
Well,
that's never going to happen.
No, not now.
And is something that people worry and have mentioned on this show about step-parents. The vast majority, wonderful and amazing people, but not all of them.
Well, every car, every grey-headed man I've seen, honestly, paranoid, thinking it was him. He was coming in my street, coming for my kids, and I was so protective over the kids. I couldn't help it, but as they grew older now, they understand.
This guy was your stepdad.
Yeah.
How exactly did he get you away from stepmom, well, your real mum rather, to be able to hurt you?
When he met my mother, we thought, oh, he was great and that. Everybody thought he was great, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And then when it started, and fear and secrets are hard when you're frightened of somebody powerful over you, when you're only a little girl.
Right.
And like I say, it went on from 9-year-old till I was 13. And I had to tell, I had to run away and tell. I couldn't take any more because I'm scarred for life as well, my body. And honestly, it was horrible. I got put in care homes for protection.
He scarred your body?
I'm scarred for life. I am my hips and that, aye.
What did he do?
His nails.
And we talk about the church being something that is a great help to many people. It isn't a help for everyone.
The older kids are responsible for looking after the younger kids as they come in,
right.
Which includes having to being the actual word, having to bath them. Of course, it didn't come into your head, but then what happens is the fathers come in and say, right, do this to him, do that to him, while they're... I know you've got younger listeners, so I'm not going to say what they were doing.
No, tell me what they did. We're a grown-up show. What was
they were masturbating and doing acts with each other and saying that this is sex.
And saying that it's normal and saying if you don't do it, God will hurt you.
You weren't allowed anywhere. We were never allowed I was never allowed near my sister or any girls.
Right.
With the only way we could communicate, my brother and I and my sister, were through little secret notes passed.
Right.
In the washing, believe it or not.
Okay.
And the fathers would come in and say, right, you will do this to him, oral sex, this sort of thing, and mutual masturbation.
Right. And the fathers, were they not... Because, you mentioned that the fathers would come in and essentially take their choice on a Friday seemed to be their night for it. So they'd come in and they would take you for whatever deviancy they required that night.
Yes. Sometimes you just had to pose.
Oh, there you go. So the church, in that particular case, the Catholic Church. Now, the love that parents have for their children should be spectacular, and in the one word that you should use is to be able to feel safe with your parents. Listen to this.
He used to get drunk and
think it was appropriate, which obviously it wasn't, but I didn't
How old were you,
become
Leah?
aware of, I reckon, about 8.
Oh, my good gracious.
It's all a bit hazy, to be honest, because I've got this fantastic memory of mine where it's just blocked everything that it doesn't want to know out, but then obviously you do it for so long, things start creeping through.
Sure.
So it wasn't until I was 21 until I addressed it. And all he said was, when I asked him about it, was that, well, it depends what you remember. So
It depends what you remember.
Right.
How terrifying is
So
that?
I think I would find some...
There was no remorse there at all, though, was there? I mean, you raped me as a child when you were drunk. Did your mother ever know?
No. He reckons she did. But if she did, he wouldn't be alive. It's as simple as that. But I do remember when I was, oh goodness, probably the same sort of age. I remember telling my mum that my stepmum, as in my dad's wife, was hitting me, and I didn't want to go back to the house, but it was a lie. And I wonder if that was me trying not to get back to the house and thinking that was a better way of doing it. I couldn't tell you.
Something that you felt might be more believable that your dad was actually raping you. If you want to get into this, it's a horrific subject and it's more common than you'd ever imagine. Pick up your telephone and give us a call. 01914 88 3188. Let's get to the calls. David is in South Shields. Hello, David.
Hiya. First time caller, but I've listened to you for years and years and years.
Good man.
Never had the courage to pick up the phone.
So have you been to a beer garden and you've had to create some artificial courage tonight? Or what's
No,
brought you
I
to
was just it came on my phone, so I thought I'd give you a buzz.
Hey.
But that subject, I've been subject to that as well. It seems so strange that was the last caller, but I've been absolutely subject to sexual abuse as well, you know.
What happened? What happened, if you don't mind talking about it?
Well, I don't mind talking about it, but basically what happened, I was a paper lad.
Right.
Now, I'm going back a long time now, so I'm 63 now.
Right.
And I'm going back when I was about 12 or 13 then. Now I worked from a paper shop in, locally Shields. It happened.
Me too.
And I used to deliver. You did as well.
I was 2 rounds on a Sunday, and your standard evening paper round across the. As soon as you got back from school, usually, and out you go. So, they're supposed to be.
I think I got £1 a week. About £1 a week.
I think it was probably If it was that, you were doing pretty well. However, all of that's supposed to be part of your happy memory, because childhood, it's the happiest days of your life, Daddy.
I know, but
how did all this start, and who was it?
How did it start off? Well, it was a friend. It was a friend of my sister.
Right.
Right, and it was her father. So it was my sister's friend's father.
Right. So how did he get? How did he get the access to be able to hurt you then?
Well, what he did was, I delivered his paper, so it was always the last paper because it was the end of that end block.
Right.
So what he used to do was he groomed us really, but I know now, and as that lady said before, it actually scars you for the rest of your life. You know what I mean?
So the grooming. Just explain how that works, because grooming it's a deceitful and ugly thing, but it's clever.
Oh, yeah,
but it is clever.
It's clever. It's clever. It's clever when you look back on it now, like I was just an innocent boy. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. So what kind of things was he doing that were kind of sucking you in?
Money. I used to like saving up for things, and at the time there was a little second-hand shop down the road from it was just by the Cypress pub. It was a second-hand shop, and I wanted a radio. You know, the radio up there. It was an old radio.
Right.
And I wanted it, so I had to save up for it, you know. But he used to say, "Well, I can give you the money for that." You know what I mean? But my eyes used to light up, you know, when you were little.
Yeah, sure.
So your eyes used to light up, and you said, "Oh well, yes," you know, and that's the way he used to go on. He also used to take places.
Right, so he makes you into a friend. He takes you ice skating. He gives you the little bit of money to build up your money box to get your radio.
Yeah.
So at what point does he get you in the house on his own so that he can do
Well, he decides to make a cup of tea, come in and have a cup of tea with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he makes a cup of tea. So made a cup of tea, and then one thing led to another, and then he wanted to put his hands down me trousers. So,
Blimey.
do you know what I mean? So, and then obviously, I mean, there was no intercourse as it happens. Do you know what I mean? But but when I'm looking back on this, like, it has actually scarred us for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Because you feel dirty.
Well,
and everything. You know, there's all kinds goes on in your head.
And when you're kind of 11, 12, 13, you haven't
innocent, totally innocent.
You've got no experience of love, touchy feely, kissy, girlfriendy. You've got none of that.
Nothing at all. I mean, the guy's not alive now, like, just fortunately, like, because I would have took him on, you know. But horrible experience. But
so, how the people listening in, because you're talking really calmly, and we're not. I don't feel that we're opening any serious wound with you, because you've found a way to keep it in the right kind of place. Where it deserves to be, because he doesn't deserve to hurt you anymore. That's for sure.
Oh no, that's right. That's right.
Why didn't you? Because people will be wondering, why the hell didn't you just say, "Hey, Mum, this guy, he's just started doing this stuff."
I don't know. I was very I would say I was very immature.
Right.
You know, I wasn't advanced even then. Do you know what I mean? I was just an innocent little boy, really, basically.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. So how do you stop it then?
I honestly don't know. I can't really remember that either, really, how it was ever stopped, you know. But that was only one, but it happened again later on with another guy. I mean, I served my time in the shipyard. I mean, I had a bit more sense by then, like, but still quite vulnerable, really. You know, probably, as I say, probably very immature I was, you know.
And also,
very, very soft.
And reaching out for if somebody shows you a bit of affection, you put more into it.
This other guy used to do me cars. I had a car, like, you know. Eventually, I had a car like 17 and that, like, and you know, and he was the same. Like, he used to fix me cars and what have you, you know. Another one, he's died as well. You know what I mean? But funny enough, I still know the family, and that's difficult. That's difficult, because I feel as if I should say something to them, but I cannot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're a grown man now, and you're far past all of that.
I am, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How scary! And I know we just fell into this subject. I know it was.
Yeah, you fell into the subject, so and it sort of touched. I mean, that wasn't what I wanted to actually talk about, but it just sort of led on from there, you know.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's do I'm glad that you've found a way to handle it, because a lot of people never do. What was the reason that you did call in anyway, then, David?
I did just about manners, people's manners. Mm-hmm. They just don't seem to have the manners that. I mean, I've been brought up with luckily I've been brought up in a stable family background. Do you know what I mean? I've had good parents, and I've been brought up with manners, and I just don't seem to think that there's a lot of manners around now. I mean, I would just open doors for people, and you know, and I mean, if you open a door now for somebody, they'll just give you a funny look. You know what I mean? It's not a done thing now. I just feel as if, well, what's going wrong with the world? You know what I mean?
The door thing. I got, because I'm like you, and I don't know. I don't think it's a generation.
For women, open the door.
Absolutely.
Like elderly people that open the door.
Me
but
too.
Saying that, I was in elderly care. I was in elderly care as my job for 33 years. Do you know what I mean? So,
for sure. So it's in your fabric to do that kind of thing. I understand. But I remember I was in one of the big Marks and Spencer's branches, and there was a load of people coming in, and the ladies in the front. So it was one of those doors that when you open it, it would swing back pretty heavy if you didn't hold it.
That's right.
So I kept a hold of it. And in the ladies came, and then the people behind them, and then the people behind them. And I'm just standing holding the door. Now, traditionally, you'd hold the door, then the next person would come and hold it open too, and then pass it on to the next one, which, that's your good manners. I could have stood there for a week, and nobody was going to take that door from me.
Nobody was going to take the door, Yeah, I just think standards of that type of behaviour have just disappeared altogether.
So presumably your parents, though, taught you all of that. You don't put your elbows on the table and all of the standard stuff.
Yeah, everything, all the standard stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that was, you know, I've got a couple of other points I want to make.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it, Dave.
Now, last July, I can't go into it too much, but I would just like to praise the Northumbria police and the way they handled my mum's case when an intruder actually entered the house.
Oh, blame.
And I actually caught him before he got any further.
Right.
Because I was minutes behind him. So it's actually been on, my friends rang us actually and they said it's been on Sun FM every hour, was reported on this
On the
just
news.
recently.
Yeah.
Because the guy in question got 11 months in jail,
Right. It's not enough.
Obviously, but the police were, honestly, they flooded the area, and I got suspicious about all of the activity over just this sort of attempted burglary,
Yeah, well, he must have done other stuff as well, I'm guessing.
Well, he had. You see, he was well known. He was well known to them,
Right.
So anyway, he was in the kitchen. So my mum, she's 91 year old, 92 in May. So anyway, I goes in the kitchen and my mum's shouting to me, well, who are you talking to? I says, well, just give us a minute. Just give us a minute.
It's a long story, right?
Yeah, it's a long story, but I just told him I would get out, I was quite calm. I says, get out. He says, I've just come to collect window in. And he says, well, I know that you're not the window cleaner because my friend's the window cleaner.
Right.
And you haven't done, well, his father used to do the windows, Anyway, so I knew of him.
Right.
So I thought I made it a bit easier. Oh, I knew of him, but I didn't know him totally.
Right.
But anyway, the police and I said there's a robber over here. There's too much activity, and it was because he was a violent man, So, and that was his second visit to my mother's house. Took £3 the day before. But
look at this.
£3.
I'm sorry, but what kind of hero do you have to be that your life is so bad that you've got to take £3 from a pension?
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
I know.
Scummy,
But the police did say that he'd obviously caged the joint and he'd come back a second time.
Right.
So luckily I went in at the right time. I went in at the right time. I got him out, got the police, and as I say, they flooded the area, and they were marvellous with me. Well, they're right through the whole lot.
Good.
In fact, the CID were coming back and having cups of tea with her and cake, which they were absolutely. I couldn't have praised them enough. They were absolutely fantastic.
Good.
I know a lot of them. There's a lot of people slag them off for not being able to do this, not be able to do that. But on this occasion, they were first class. They were superb.
Good to hear.
So
well done, them. So what else then? You said you had a few things, David. Go for it.
Sorry?
You said you had other things as well, David, so go for it.
Yeah, as I say, it's just first time call, so it's quite a strange sort of thing for me.
It is, and you dove straight in the deep end as well, so respect you for that. Thank you. Thank you for that.
The COVID, the thing with the COVID.
Yeah.
I had a lot of spare time. I retired 3 years ago from care, so I decided to do some voluntary driving for them. So I've been taking the COVID elderly people in for the COVID injections, I've done a bit of that as well,
well done.
It was well organised, it was fantastic. Going to the doctor's surgeries with them, and marshals were meeting them, and it was just really smooth, everything going smoothly, and no problems at all.
Good on you.
Thoroughly enjoyed it, I think that's probably my background of elderly care. So
it's
with having spare time on my hands, I just decided to go for it.
Yeah, it was nice of you to do that. Thank you very much, then, David. Great talking to you for the first time.
Yeah, I'll come back on.
I'll look forward to it. Thanks a lot. All the best, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
How about that? You talk about a subject as deep as the subject of abuse, which is not something that you speak of lightly, and he walked right into that, but he had the guts to just... Not everybody can put it in a place you can deal with, in absolute respect. Easter has been on twice, and first of all he says, how cool is the tune Little Plum? Absolutely. That's why we play, it's a coincidence. And also, I'm on my way yem with an Indian meal. Different start with others. It says, it's criminal when you let somebody in or out when you're driving and they look at you as if, well, you should have done that anyway. No, absolutely. Should have given you the polite nod. And animals, about abuse, they are F-wording animals. You should chop their F-wording arms and legs off after their private organ. I'll cry if I keep listening because It is one of those subjects that you don't want to hear about. And Chris the Truck's been on about Subarus. Now, I do know that I've scratched a nerve in some households with my Subaru views. Subarus are particularly loud when you put a sports exhaust on them as a result of the engine layout. Subarus have boxer engines, 2 pairs of cylinders on opposite sides of the engine with a central crankshaft, as if I've any clue at all, and says, whereas the majority of vehicles in Britain have in-lane, that's cylinders in a lane engines. Yeah. Says things that should be illegal, middle lane hoggers. People who sit at 40 mile an hour through a 50 mile an hour average speed camera section. And many other motoring related gripes, he says. There you go. And let's go and talk to Jack. He's in Newcastle upon the Tyne. Hi, Jack.
Hiya there.
Hello, mate. What's your subject for tonight then?
Well, I'm just going to go for a few things, like what the other callers have been saying.
Sure.
So that guy who was having trouble with like families and stuff, I've got a little bit of advice. It was just it's something I use. It's called an ESVIS.
ESVIS.
And that's a CCTV camera system, and it's like you download an app to your smartphone, so then you can like just watch everything from your smartphone.
So it doesn't matter where you are. You don't have to be in the house to keep a clock on it.
Yeah, you can be anywhere. Like you could be on holiday in Spain, and you could still
blimey, brilliant.
Tune in on it, you know. And it's the same with them Ring doorbells. Them Ring doorbells, they're really good as well.
Great.
You know, so like they're like worth investing in as well. You know.
Doesn't have to be a fortune then, does it?
No. Yeah, I mean, sort of like you can probably pick up a Ring for like sort of 80 quid, and again the same for like the CCTV camera. You know, they're not mega expensive. And
because I remember when CCTV, personal house CCTV first came out, I remember, and this was years ago, they said, you can protect your house. And first of all, CCTV doesn't protect your house. It just takes pictures of anybody doing anything to it. But they said, you can protect your house, and it's only £699. And then the following year it was 400, and then it was 200, and it's really, I mean, because 80 quid's nothing when it comes to looking after your property.
The only thing with a Ring is, so you've got to you've got to pay a subscription every month,
right?
To for them to use that cloud service or whatever it is, you know.
And is that much?
No, I don't think it's that much. I think it's a few quid a month.
Right.
But like with the ESVIS security camera, you've got the option where you can put like a little memory card inside of it.
Right.
So obviously, then you don't have to use the subscription service because you've got like it all backed up onto it.
All right, I see. So if you're on holiday and you come back and somebody's done your shed for your lawnmower, and you've got a camera out there, you could just go on your phone and back to until you see somebody messing with it.
Yeah, it's got all sorts. You know, it's got like motion sensors and all this carry on, detection zones, and it's I mean, like for as little as I think I paid for the camera. I think I paid like 60 quid, 70 quid, and that was brand new from Argos. That was, you know, so
it's doable.
Yeah, so it's definitely doable. So that wasn't initially why I called, but just listen to the other guy. I just thought I'd mention that.
Thank you.
Originally called, it was just about the protests and stuff. To speak about protests, like I went to a couple of protests myself. And then something I heard you just mention there when I was like waiting in the queue was about the different people having different views on COVID and stuff, you know.
Absolutely.
And people should just get it doesn't matter what you like. I totally agree with you there. People should just get along no matter what their view is, you know. Like if you're sort of like, I think like the lockdown's a bit extreme and all this carry on, and but I went to a protest in London, and according to the figures there, what we got back, there was over hundreds of thousands of people who attended that one in London.
Right.
And that was like sort of a one for what they call like sort of take your freedom back protest.
Yeah. Oh, they've been happening all over the world, those kind of protests, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's been massive. But it's just the one thing that sort of bugged me is it hasn't really been on the mainstream media very much.
No.
You know, it's sort of and if it has, it's like massively sort of underreported.
Yeah, because I heard somebody that was probably at the same meet that you were at, and they were saying On the news, it said there upwards of 25,000 people there. There may be 30,000 people, but they're spread out over a long distance. And a couple of people that I know that were there rang me while they were down there, and they said, there's got to be 110, 120,000 people here.
Oh, yeah.
And yet
yeah.
the TV news said 25 to 30,000. And you think, people aren't blind. You know, when you see the photographs in the press, you know that that's a sizable amount of people there. But bottom line is, whatever the reasons, the government have took a course of action where, and the worst part of this is, they took the action on their own back and they said, we're bringing in emergency powers so we don't have to ask the people, we don't have to ask their representative politicians, we can just do what the hell we like. And they did. And because they did, all the other governments across the world went, oh, we'll do that. Then nobody's going to argue and complain about it. So they've got away with all of the governments, right or wrong, trying to keep balance on this fence here. Right or wrong, they've completely overstepped the mark when it comes to personal freedom. And,
definitely, yeah.
And then
totally.
people can argue whether, well, they saved lives or they didn't save lives, depending on on your outlook of this. Bottom line is, what were you hoping to achieve when you already knew that they'd clamped down on what TV and radio people could say about it? Because people have lost their job just hinting that there might be an issue. So what did you think you could achieve by going out and marching? Because you must have known that the same clampdown on TV, radio and newspapers would still be in action. So what did you want to happen from it?
Well, hopefully it got a lot more notice than it did. Like maybe and seeing even the underreported in the press. Like sometimes you can say, like what's the saying? Like all press is good press, or there's something along them sorts of lines. I can't remember.
At least somebody was doing something about it, and
like it's sort of, and you like it's got to like sort of at least bring attention to like the like sort of where it was like in London, the London area, because it went on for miles and miles and miles. It went right the way around the city. It started off in Hyde Park, and then it went right the way around down beside the Thames, and then up beside Parliament Square, and then up beside the Queen's Buckingham Palace and all this carry on. So
yeah, but it was spread out. It was a long. Had it been kind of all compacted in one or two streets, then it would have looked the number that apparently was there. But it was just spread out for miles. But you see, that in itself is still pretty impressive. Bottom line is, you must know that it doesn't seem to have made any kind of difference to what anybody's done. I'm not putting you down for that. That's just what I think's happened. People have done that in Germany, in Berlin, and all the rest of it. In New York, you've had some, in various other American cities, and it's kind of like the press have put you in a place like, well, that's kind of the extreme types, but the rest of society, we all know what we're doing, and we'll be all right. That's kind of where they put you. How do you feel about you being radicalised? Because that's kind of what they were saying about you.
Yeah, it's sort of unfair because, like you've got like the examples in the news of like all these other protests that have happened around football or whatever, or and they focus in on the negative. And it's like all of my experiences of going to like protests it's been really peaceful. It's been really really joyful. It's just been like a regular sort of family occasion, and that's what it's been. There's been crowds, there's been families, there's been children, people taking their dogs, and it just went all smoothly and it operated really well. And it was just like it was as though like COVID didn't exist for that day, and. Right. Because you're just seeing everybody being happy, smiling, laughing, and it was just like a really good occasion for the day.
Yeah, I hear it. And the thing about this way that the government have dealt with it, the only thing that people should be concerned about, and I'm going to say the ridiculous, whether you believe or don't believe, it doesn't matter. What we can say is that the government have found a way a mechanism, maybe setting a precedent, that if they want to have their way, irrespective of what the people want, all they've got to do is say emergency powers, and they can do to us anything.
Yeah,
And that's what's been proven over this. And who knows what next they're going to use it for.
Well, you could look at like the examples in China. You know, you've got what they call social credit scores over in China.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've heard anything about
absolutely.
that. Yeah,
I read about it.
Yeah, so
hey, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But as far as like, even if you look on the government's own website, if you look on the from as early as March 2020, they had actually put the lower COVID down to a low infectious disease. You know,
I saw that, and that's the reason why a lot of scientists are trying to lobby the government to reduce. You know, take the masks off now. Let's just get on with our lives. You don't have to drag it out any longer. And Boris is being pushy to try and get out of lockdown as soon as possible. The interesting thing that I saw, and again, just as an outsider looking in to what government do, in America, cities are coming out now saying 1st of June, we're off. Masks are off, 1st of June, done. And as soon as America and one or two other parts of the planet started doing it, then all of a sudden it was all right for Britain to do it. But we didn't want to be the first. It's like you don't want to be the first one to blink. Do you know what I mean? It was one of those things. It's like now everybody's blinking. Oh, I think maybe it's time. And people can judge right from wrong. They don't need people to tell them, especially not the media.
Yeah.
And people know what's going on. And some believe and some will never believe. And that's how it's going to remain, I think. It's going to be one of those conspiracies or not, depending where you stand for the next 20, 30 years.
Well, it's like, well, again, I find conspiracy, I think that's like a bit of a dirty word, you know. Sort of, it's a bit derogatory term, sort of, really, in a way.
But they last forever. That's the thing. But they do last. And you could argue, if you look at it, name any of the big conspiracy theories, if it wasn't an important word, and you know you say derogatory, if it wasn't an important word, we wouldn't be talking about how President Kennedy died in 1960-odd in the year 2021, but we are because of the word conspiracy. So don't think it's completely out of favour. People know what's what. But hey, good talking to you, Jack. Thank you very much for coming on.
Right, no bother. Right, cheers.
All the best, man. Bye-bye. 01914 488 3188. Believe what you like, and don't let anybody ever tell you different. Chris, is anybody throwing away 7 to 8 foot of kitchen worktop? Doesn't have to be immaculate. It's from a utility room. If you can help them, give us a ring. We'll sort you out. Meanwhile, Dexy's Midnight Runners talking about ghosts and stuff. Either of you ever seen a ghost, had a strange, spooky anything in your lives?
Well, I've seen loads of spooky things, but I can't really explain it. In fact, they're so spooky, I don't even know if I actually saw it.
Right. What about you, Kev?
I've seen a couple of spooky things. I was mind-altered at the time, I must confess.
Right. So it's spirits to the power of two, really.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Best bit and worst bit in the business so far, highlight and low light.
Well, I think the business itself is the low, because I hate the business side of it. You know, it doesn't have any bearing on music whatsoever, really.
Sure.
That's the worst bit. The best bit is playing, just being on stage and getting a chance to entertain people, really.
Yeah. For me, I think doing really good work, whether it be an album or a live show. I like doing albums as well, you know, because I like things to be documented, you know what I mean?
Sure.
It's like, so that's what's good about a record, which is really why I'm really glad we've done a live album. That's the best. You know what, as well, the money, I don't mind it. You know, I'm glad for it. I'm grateful for it. You know, it's good. The worst, dealing with personalities.
Right.
You know,
right.
Dealing with personalities.
Talking about Jim here without mentioning him.
Totally. What? No, wait. Actually, you know, definitely not anyone but Jim. But, okay, you know, might be people in the business, Do you know what I mean? Who don't get it, but say they do.
Yeah.
Might be band guys, you know, not now. We've got a good band. I can hand on heart say every one of them people I'm totally up for. They're totally getting it and they're totally committed to it. But there has been times, you know, when, you know, they just, I don't know. You know, bands, we're human beings and the stakes are high and people get jealous, all that kind of stuff. And it can be very hard dealing with the personalities and the politics.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm probably being far too honest now.
Can I get on the camera though?
So if I spin
is
around,
that?
nothing's going to be there, is it?
I don't know. It looks like you've got a black version of it's almost like that advert they used to have for porridge where you'd be radioactive, but it's dark. That's odd. Walk on, Tony. That's just a weird.
Isn't it crazy in a little place like this? You find things. Look, the oldest known
Golf course in England. No, absolutely. We mentioned that. Yeah, real early. Don't know what they'll have the date on it. What, 1869? Yeah, early doors. Yeah, absolutely.
We don't know, do we? All the
Stuff on our doorstep. But that's what makes it all the best. Amazing area for stuff. But no, this guy called Rob. If your name's Rob, please pay attention to this because this guy Rob decided to lure the boomer men down to Roker. And they tried to threaten him. He lived on Ocean Road. And 12 boomermen were taken by the tally men because he dobbed them in it. And they took him down to the soft sand of Almouth, where the golf course now is. So, Tony, this is exactly where they brought him. But you got to remember, this was soft sand. And you see the edge that goes down. There's a high bit, then it goes down. That would be where the sea is. And they took these guys here to the sea. They buried them up to their neck in soft sand, leaving their heads exposed. And this area at the time was known as the 12 Heads. And when the tide came in to wash over them, and they left it there until all of the flesh had been eaten away by crabs. And they say that so many people died along this stretch, so many deaths were here. That's the reason why there's so many crabs that people catch off the coast, because of all the death that had gone on. Beyond that, a few other things that you need to know about Alnmouth before we go on. We've got an amazing second story of piracy, as if we have already had amazing history. Alnmouth, and this was back in, I'm hoping to get the dates right, 1736, right here, the Scots piled in and massacred the entire place. Every man, woman and child chased down to the beach and were massacred on the beach. The same beach with the 12 Heads, which will now be under grass, I'm guessing. 40 years after the Scots hit us, and I might have the dates wrong, it might be 1578. In fact, it wasn't. Let me get my dates right. 13th century. Then 40 years later, the Black Death swept across and wiped out everybody in Alnmouth again. And 100 years after that, there was very few people living here except fisher folk. And the king said, "Oh, how is Alnmouth?" And one of his aides said, "My lord, Alnmouth has been depeopled." And we're looking for their spirit tonight in this lot. But we're going down to the meaty part right now. And I think I've got my dates all the cock. I really do. However, I will be... Oh, there you go. It was 1336, the Scots. 1348, the Black Death. And the other thing about this place that just turns it into a fascination. You know, it's posh with a golf course now, and it's a lovely place to be, and it was built on poo. It was built on poo because it started making money when Allenmouth and the Boomer men started importing guano, which is bird poo and bat poo and what have you. And they started importing it, and they realized that farmers, if they put the guano on their land, tripled the amount of productivity they got from their crops, and they made a fortune. They tripled, you know, the stuff that they could get out of the ground. So everybody wanted guano. So boats were coming over, not with gin, not with salt, not with gold and silk and all the stuff you presume. They carried tons of poo, and farmers paid a fortune for it because they knew once it was on the land, they could triple, quadruple the amount of profit they made. And they all did it, and Allenmouth was suddenly a rich and wealthy place to be. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Right, this is the path, I think. Are we right? We're heading down. We're heading down, so let's get to the nitty-gritty. Gloves are going on. Oh, this is serious. Right. I just think this is a kind of, it's heavy on story. I know that, and there's not really much I could do about it. But let's.
Feeling here that there's going to be something down there, though, don't you?
I really hope so.
This is when I want people at home just to make me a cheese and ham sandwich, and I'll come across there.
Oh, toasty! It's a toasty for the night, isn't it?
Cup of tea.
Cup of tea. Yeah, make one now.
It is bitter.
Send us your address. I'm on the way. No mind this ghost, but
it's actually colder than it was when we were. And I know somebody said when we one of the people on our amazing. Oh, and incidentally, thank you for stars. I just saw someone earlier sent us 400. I've only just found out what stars are. They're like a pat on the head and a nip to the bottom, and it's a lovely tip. So thank you very much. We sent us 400 stars. So thank you very much for that. What, you spotted?
It's just reflection.
The sun is shining.
Looks like a misty.
Very
Very foggy.
Yeah,
over there.
Well, it's the sea fret is all what the second.
Oh, that's moving. What the fuck is? Sorry. What is that?
Sorry for the sweary there. There's something moving.
What's moving really fast?
And it's. Can you see the light in
I've
it?
just seen.
Take our torches
shadow
off.
there as well.
Can you see it?
What the hell?
My
is
eyes
that?
are. Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
It's stopped now.
What the hell is that?
I hope the people at home can see it.
I got a fright there. I properly got a fright there. It's that moved fast.
It did.
What is it?
Linda from Barrisford. Hello, Linda.
Oh, good evening, Alan.
Hello, how are you?
Not too bad.
That's good. So what's been happening in your world then, Linda?
Oh, what was it? I was on the laptop to my son.
Did you not break it?
I went to show him my new trainers that I had on my feet.
Right.
And I slipped off the sofa and landed up on the floor. And I was laughing.
I bet.
And my son was shouting, Mom, are you all right, Mom?
1 minute you're there, the next minute your legs akimbo. There you go. That's brilliant. So you got some new posh trainers, have you? Are you going to take up basketball or jogging or?
Oh, what was it? You must be joking, Alan.
No, well, why not? You can do whatever you like.
At least I can walk around anyway.
Yeah, and be comfy. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else? Something has happened today as well.
I don't know. You been getting out in the country much?
I went to my sister's house today to celebrate my great nephew's birthday.
All right, nice.
Well, what was it? Just we had dinner together and then we had tea.
Right.
My great nephew he'll be 5 years old tomorrow. Right. No, what time is it now?
Oh, it's after 12, yeah.
Yeah, it's today.
Right.
Birthday. What else have I been doing? There was something I wanted to tell you.
What was that about?
Oh, crumbs, I've forgotten.
Was it about things that should be illegal?
Oh, I tell you what should be illegal.
What's that in?
If somebody tries to ring you up in the middle of the night and they're just being a blinking pest, that should be illegal.
Yeah, there's something that I'm really guilty of when it comes to ringing people up, and I don't know how it happens.
Mm.
My bum keeps ringing people. It's not me. I don't want to talk to them. I've got nothing to say. However, my bum will ring them, or I'll press my pocket, and for some reason, all of a sudden, I'm hearing, hello, 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 and then I pick my phone up and I've rang somebody, and I haven't done anything of that nature. No. It's some people, it's in their pocket, and you end up ringing somebody. And the worst one was about 3 weeks ago. A friend of me rang the following day to say, how did you get on that jog? It sounded like you were dying. And I'm saying, what jog? He says, well, it was about 8:30 in the morning, and my phone rang, it woke me up, and all I'm hearing is, and he said the funniest thing was, after about me listening for about a minute and a half, I used a very profane swear word, and I just go, swear word, and then, and that pretty much sums up my jogging experience every day. I just run and swear and run because I hate it. But it has to be done.
Oh, there we are.
But I wonder if does anybody else bum ring people, or is it just me? I don't get it at all.
And then I had I'd been on another radio station from London.
Right, that's all right. It's allowed.
But it's international, it is, you know. And the broadcaster, I rang him up last week. The broadcaster said, "Oh, Linda, I'm glad you rang up. Somebody, you know, you were on the other week and you were saying that you were a supporter of Newcastle United." I says, "Yeah." And he says, "And you've got a mask, but you haven't got a shirt." I says, "Yeah." And he says, "Well," and he said, when you said you didn't have a shirt, you said you couldn't afford one. I said, "That's right, yeah."
Yeah, absolutely.
And he said, "Well, this man has emailed him in, and he's going to send me a Newcastle United shirt."
Oh, how nice. That's lovely. Good.
Yeah.
You enjoy. Take the shirt off the man's back, Linda. Why not? And everybody wonders why people... Everybody around the country wonders why people supporting Newcastle have no shirts on when they're watching the football match. Because they're giving them to people like you, Linda. The guys could probably end up getting pneumonia, spend the rest of his life in a tunnel dragging a bottle of oxygen around, but it's fine. You'll get your shirts.
No, he's going to get a brand new one for me, Alan.
That's what he tells you. He'll just pick an old plastic bag and give it a wash and hope for the best. That's what'll happen.
Don't be awful,
Covered
Alan.
with sweat stains. That's what it'll be. Oh. Enjoy.
What's that?
No, it's nice. It's nice when people get involved. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's all good.
I'm thrilled to bits, I was.
Oh,
I was going, oh, thank you, Daniel.
You slaver. There you go. You know how to play the game. Anything else, then, Linda?
Well, I hope you have a lovely evening.
I'll do my best.
And give all my love to the night owls.
I will, absolutely. Thank you, Linda.
Bye.
Take care. And, I didn't think I'd get a chance to play this. So glad that I have. It's been a long time coming. And it is Edwin Starr.
I think so. I can see it in my eyes, and I can see a little thing on the screen.
Torch away, can you see it?
No.
There it is. This guy. Oh, it's a torch. It's a torch.
No,
is it a torch? Look, look at how these are torches. Maybe a torch.
Whoa.
It's a torch. It's got to be a torch.
Like a stone or something.
Come on, let's just let's do our thing. There's a green area that's just up here as well that we have to visit at some point, because we know, I don't know whether we can do it, you know, up where the cars are parked around the top. Can we get down there?
Yeah, but you have to go
out and round.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that then. I don't understand the speed of it more than anything.
The speed wasn't the speed of a walker, though. It didn't look like it.
No, not at all. Unless he's on a horse.
You know, every time you see an island and there's a lighthouse, that's like that. You always
that lighthouse we're going to tell you all about a little bit later on as well. A bell. Look at Almouth, how beautiful it looks, mind you, Tony. I don't know whether you can just focus back, and because you know it's changed so little over the years. A lot of those old buildings are the same now as they would have been back in the day. That's what a lot of people would have seen. I know they put new windows in and all the rest of it, but a lot of the buildings are antique and old. Now, you know, I mentioned Rob because over the years, that's to the beach. Is it the beach we go to go around to that? Because it's over there, the Boomerman story, and it's over there, which is the story of our pirate, which we'll get into. Yeah, I see it.
I think we're going straight on the one.
I thought
we're back.
No, I think we're going. First, yeah. We'll go to the green. It's that green bit that we need to get to. Yeah. If that's what Tony says, is that the way to that green patch next to where the cars were?
Yes, you can go this way.
Okay.
Along the beach. Warning. Yeah. No bathing.
No, do not even paddle.
I always feel like a plodge when I'm anywhere near the sea, mate. I have to see it, even at night time. Now, when we first arrived, the tide was up to there, wasn't it? You see how wet the sand is there? Did you hear that? Not that I can see. Maybe rats. Well, we're not going in the sea. The sea's a good way out. It was right in when we first arrived. You know, I told you that story about Rob and how he dobbed the Boomermen in, and 12 of them ended up getting hanged. Yeah, we're going along there later. There's a lot of remnants from World War II up that way, but we want to be in the dunes essentially here.
It's just up, straight up this way, and then there's a kind of a pathway up.
Right. Amazing. No, well, you know how I told you that the Boomermen never let anybody get away with anything? Well, this guy, Rob, thought he'd done we know where it is. You don't need to.
We're back.
Right, sorry everybody. We just kind of cut off. You know, whenever I'm on a beach, I always look at stuff like this, but it's buried deep, and you wonder, was that just a tree that's fallen, or was it part of a ship? Where's it been? Why is it there? But the Rob story, I keep going back to the Rob story because it's important, especially if your name's Rob, surname's Rob, 2 B's. This Rob guy caused the death of all those boomer men. Boomer men never, ever let anybody get away with anything. And 3 days after the final hanging, Rob didn't turn up for work. And they went to his house, they found his entire family had been murdered, and Rob was lying in bed. His insides were slopping around the bed, and there were 2 knives, one in each eye. And that's how it was. So the boomer men always, if you went for them, they'd always come back at you harder and stronger. Is this the route in?
Yes, you can get up that way.
You see the things here, these things, you see the big lumps of concrete? Do you know what they are? They're tank cubes. You know, I mentioned that during the War of Independence, when England was... Oh, hang on, is that a pair of pants? Is it pants?
Well, let's hope there's no one naked over the other side.
Well, it just gives you a bit of input as to what else has happened here. These things here, if the Germans had landed their tanks on the beach, because everybody was expecting the Germans to invade, they put these things in to stop the tanks getting over them. They're tank cubes, tank traps. They thought the French were going to invade during the Napoleonic War, and they put gun batteries on the top of these with cannons, and they were replaced with these big lumps of rock in World War II. So there's all sorts of things going on. And it's up here, if we can get up here.
Packages, you listen very carefully to the Indian authorities and see that we're giving them what they need and want.
The Foreign Office is downplaying the prospect of British-Iranian woman Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe's release from Iran. Claims were made on Iranian state TV that the UK would pay a £400 million debt to secure her release. Debenhams have begun permanently closing its stores after it fell into administration last year. 97 stores across England and Wales reopened last month for a final closing down sale. In sport, a Gareth Bale hat-trick helped Tottenham beat Sheffield United 4-0 and keep them in contention for the Champions League. They're up to 5th in the Premier League. Arsenal beat Newcastle 2-0. And Rangers remain on course to go unbeaten in the Scottish Premiership this season after thrashing rivals Celtic 4-1. From Sky News, I'm Daryl Jackson.
Thank you, Daryl. Alan Robson on the Night Owls and Greatest Hits Radio North East. I've already given you 2 clues, OK? The first clue is this. Coastal town in Lancashire. Second clue. Al sang Tired of Being Alone. It was one of his big hits. He had a few. Tired of Being Alone. The third clue. The Queen's Palace. The Queen's Palace. What's the name of the Queen's Palace? Write that down too. You've got 3 clues. You get 1 more clue to come, and then see if you can tell me what links everything together. Yeah, it's something to do with Greatest Hits, but what could it be? You'll get the 4th clue within the next 15 to 20 minutes, so hang on in there if you can. We have Davy. Now, Davy is a caller that's been loyal, steadfast and true over a number of years, and we call him Davy the Milkman. But he is not Davy the Milkman anymore. Hello, Davy.
Hello, Alan.
Hello. Well, it was always going to happen that you, rather like the cream on the top of a bottle of milk, would rise to the surface.
Yes, I tell you what, I'm not a new name, Alan.
What's your new name then, Davy?
Davy the Sluice Man.
Davy the Sluice Man.
Aye.
What's
You never guess who I'm working with it now.
What's getting doing your sluice?
Big Keys keep me back up.
Oh no. Oh dear. No, tell me about your sluice. What's going down your sluice?
Oh, the sluice man. I tell you what, like people, they get into my room and they say, "Davey, could you watch this?" I said, "I need butter."
So what are you washing now?
Buckets of ink.
Buckets of ink.
Buckets of ink and buckets of glue and everything. And it's honestly, tell you what, Alan, I'm so pleased. I've got a new frame of mind and everything. I was rock bottom, honest, doing the milk.
Really? Because I always thought that because of how you did it, because we went out and filmed Davey doing this, and we did a show around the life of a milkie, and you did it almost like it was a long distance run. You know, it was.
Honest, I've been like 33 years. I was on the milk.
Wow.
Like from when I was 12, man.
So you deserve a sluice of your own, frankly, don't you, Davey?
Honest to God, and I just got right on top of us, and I was rock bottom, and me mental health and everything was just driving us down. So,
what a shame.
Honest to God.
But you're a happy man now. It's good.
I'm so honest to God. I'm so happy. No.
Right. So I mean,
this is a new me, man.
The new Davey. It's got to be a good thing.
Davey the sluice man.
David the sluice man. So
I've changed my Facebook status. Liberty.
No, that's so. How's Ashley and my son? I mean, your son.
You filthy animal! You will never change, you. I've been going through the drive-through the McDonald's. Yeah, no. Do you remember the Rainbow, Alan?
Yeah, of course. Zippy and Bungle and Jeffrey and yeah.
I go to. I put my voice on like George from Rainbow. Yeah, I'm going to have a cheeseburger, please. What do you have a Jiffy? I'm going to have a cheeseburger too, George.
Oh, dear.
Just having a laugh. But like work with Keith. Oh man, my lord, it's a nightmare. You've got to watch your back when you work with Keith. Big Keithy.
I can absolutely imagine.
Oh, but honestly, I'm so happy.
I'm glad.
I've never felt. Honest to God. I didn't know what to say. I'm so happy.
I mean, if you think you put 33 years in every night was a run and a jog and carrying heavy weights, because people don't realise, and you're taking a crate to do a whole street, and you'd run around there, and then you'd run back, and then you'd get to the next place where you'd run, and again.
I don't know.
You can only do that for a certain amount of time, no matter how fit you are.
I'm 45-year-old now, man. My knees were knackered.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's just mint. Honest.
That's good.
It's such a. I know. The thing is, now I'm doing like. They said, "Are you all right doing like permanent nights? Like permanent nights is like 10 till
6.
10 till 6.
Yeah.
With an hour's break, and you can take like 2 half-hour breaks whenever you want.
That's
and
brilliant.
I've never had them before. I've never had a break.
Right, I know. Just simple things that everybody takes for granted. And I would imagine through the night you'll not have too many other people around.
No. During the night, honest, it's unbelievable. When the gaffer took us around the factory, guns and I was like, "Are you doing? He says, "You know, man, people in here than I do." Because all listeners now, they're all doing the night.
That's good.
They love you. They love you.
Oh,
they listen to me, and they were like, "Oh God, can't believe Davey's coming to work here."
Davey the sluice man. We're going to have to
Davey the sluice man.
changes his. I've just noticed on this.
Have you got any pans that need washing, Alan? Just drop them off. I'll
Wait, it's funny, but I'm just looking at my screen here, and they've already changed your name to Davey the sluice man. How brilliant is that? That's tremendous. Say goodbye to the milk. The milk was yesterday. Huh? That's good.
Man.
I'm glad. I'm glad for you, mate. You deserve it. You're being a hard grafter.
Oh, the moon, mate. Tell you what, no, I'll tell you what, I'll catch up with you shortly.
Do.
Aye.
Absolutely
definitely.
do.
You still finish it there at 2 o'clock?
Absolutely.
Out that building?
Yeah.
Aye, right. No bother.
I'll catch you. I'll catch you soon. Can you bring us a picture of the Bain as well? And if you,
tell you what,
and send me a few pictures of Ashley as well, because come on, I haven't seen her in a long time.
And you're such a Sasquatch. You're a Sasquatch. This side of Manhattan.
Catch you soon, Davey. Take care, man.
Take care, Alan.
Happy for you, man. Bye-bye. Oh, isn't that good? He just, they say a change is as good as a rest, and it really is. And if he worked non-stop for 5, 6, 7 hours just running, carrying weights every day, now he can get a break. It's the first time he's had a break in 30-odd years. What? Ridiculous. So glad he's feeling better about himself. 0191 488 3188. Couple of quick things. Mark says, do you or any of the night owls know, are there any dating sites, forums or apps that cater for people with autism or Asperger's? It might be best to find somebody who has the same disability as he does. There you go. And we have Andy, who is in Stockton upon the Tees. Hi, Andy.
All right, Gavin, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you very much for calling. What you got for me tonight, then?
Well, I've got a request.
Okay.
And I've got a little tale for you as well.
Oh, great. Good for it.
About the nakedness.
All right.
I'll get on with my request first, but actually I'll tell you a little bit of a background. I've rang you a couple of times before, and the last time I rang you was beginning of last year. I was coming up for having some neck surgery and whatnot, and I was quite concerned. Yes. And my head was just all over the place, and I think I got quite emotional and put the phone down on you. I'm not too sure.
No,
if I did, I'm sorry, mate.
No, you did, because this was a big deal, and if it went badly wrong, you were in serious trouble. How did it go?
Yeah, that's right. Well, they told me there was a massive risk I could have been paralysed from neck down, like. But what's happened is I've had 4 vertebrae removed from my neck. Thankfully, it's gone well.
Thank goodness.
But I've just had some recent news. I've got to have another 4 removed as well. So I'm running the gauntlet again with the emotions and whatnot,
What do they do, though? I mean, do they put false ones in? Otherwise, you'll be about 2 foot tall when they're finished.
Yeah, they've got like little clips in, like 2 bits of plastic that are, I don't know how to say it, at an angle.
All right.
Basically, what it is they open and close as when you
move.
When you move your neck and whatnot.
Wow, how amazing! You're bionic.
Well, pretty much, yeah. But now I've got to go through it all again because they took 5 to 9 out, and now that 1 to 5 is broken as well. Now they've said, and then they've also said that my shoulder, which was my original injury, is totally just ruined. So I might end up having a prosthetic arm as well at some stage. I don't know yet, but I've got dexterity and I've just got no strength in it whatsoever.
Right.
But this is why I'm ringing for on the request part of it, Al.
Sure.
I have got, now many people are going to go, oh, God, how boring. I'm a keen fisherman, Alan.
Right, okay.
And I've got a Nash Peg 1 chair that comes with wheels on the back.
Right.
Now, I used to load all my gear on this chair and take it to the bank, but obviously, you're pulling this chair.
Right.
Well, I want to convert it into like a pram. I've gone out and bought some trolley wheels, but I need, and this is my request, I can't find nowhere anybody to do a little govy job, and it's a 5-minute job. I need 2 little pieces of metal, 4-inch by 3-inch, with a 10 to 15 centimetre high piece of 20 mil tubing.
Right, so you need
metal.
2 bits of metal, 4 inches by 3.
Yeah.
And a 15 centimetre high piece of tubing. How long? 15 centimetres. How wide?
20 mil wide 20 is the minimum.
20 mil wide, right. So is there anybody out there who's got a workshop, who's got a bit of tubing and a few bits of metal that you can knock this together so that he can transform his Nash chair into a pram-style chair, so you just push it down, sit on it, fish it, and then push it back. That's essentially it, isn't it?
That's the idea, yeah, that's the idea. I mean, fishing's my passion now, and I'm having to carry it. I tried it after my surgery, after everything was all right. I tried carrying it all down there, and pulling my gear and whatnot. And I was in pain for a good 2 hours. I couldn't fish.
Right.
I was just sat there crying on my chair because it hurt that much. So.
Right, that's no good. So is there anybody that's got a workshop or a shed where you could put we need 2 pieces of metal, 4 inches by 3 inches, that's 2 times that, and 15 centimetre high bit of tubing, 20 mil wide. If anybody can do that, or somebody that can.
Sorry, Al. It doesn't matter if it's scrap metal or out. It doesn't have to be fancy or anything. It's just bog standard. It doesn't, I'm not interested if it's, if it's somebody's old rusty old TV stand.
Doesn't have to be flash. It just has to be that, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. If anybody rings in who can do it, we'll hook you up, and you can talk about it and get the thing done.
Yeah, please do. So, can you explain? I mean, I'll give you my details and whatnot, but I work nights. So it'd probably be best if somebody is out there that's going to get in touch with us, just send us a text first, and then obviously when I get up, I'll give them a ring.
Deal with it. No problem. We got that. So what was the other thing then about nakedness? You said.
I've got a little tale for you now. Now it's a number of years ago now when I was a teenager. Like me and my mate Shaney Berry, we'd found these couple of young ladies, and we were at that sort of age where things start happening. So we took these they were a lovely day. We took these little ladies down to this field. My mate were like, I'm going to go and, I'm going to go sort this one out. Sorry to be a bit crude, but... So I was like, yeah, fair enough. So we split up into 2 little groups and walked off. And we went to this big, maize field it was. And so I'm sat chatting to this little girl, and we're talking away. And I mean, I was little, only 17 at the time. Chatting away, chatting her up, basically, trying to... And my mate had already knew this other lass anyway, so he was a bit more advanced than what I was, a bit further ahead with a relationship type of thing.
Right.
Well, next thing, we're talking away, and honestly, I'm not joking, it was almost as if somebody had steamrolled over your foot. The screams, I am not joking you, mate, the absolute bellows screaming, and this young lady's howling, and I thought my mate is beating this girl up, and I thought, I'm not having this. So I jumps up, me and this lass goes running down. This lass is stood there, proper screaming, tears rushing down her face and all sorts. My mate's laid on the floor, belly down. He says, I can't move, and he's tearfully screaming. Well, what's happened is, we turns him over, he's only got a piece of maize stuck right up his core. Oh, I'm not joking you out. There must have been at least 3 inches up there. It was, when the he's got it in a piece of plastic now. Set in a plastic thing, but...
Well, he should have known it was going against the grain.
This is what I said to him. He says, but he thought, obviously, he just had sex with this lass. And he thought, he just thought, I'll lay down in grass and talk to her. And he thought it might have just been a silly pain after having sex or something. He didn't know, he didn't realise. But he tried to get up, and back then there was no mobile phones, Ellen. And it was a good 1.5 mile trek back to the phone box. But I couldn't go. These 2 lasses were absolutely hysterical, crying. I couldn't go because I was rolling around on the floor, bad laughing. My mate's absolutely screaming. There's blood gushing everywhere. And I couldn't move for bloody hysterics. Well, we flagged. I finally pulled myself together. I runs to Path and tells this bloke who was driving past in the car. I flagged him down and he come over and he says, I'll get you to hospital, mate, no problem. He came over. I'm still chuckling away a little bit. He comes over, stands there as if he's all going to ready to help and scoop my mate up. He stands there, bellows in laughter, just like I've been doing.
I was going to say, making your mate feel really good when he's holding his bits and bobs in his hand.
It took us about 4.5 hours to actually get to the hospital afterwards. Wow. Thankfully it was all right, but he said he'll never go sit in a cornfield again. No,
absolutely not. It's not worth the risk. What a story! Brilliant.
Walking in the hospital with him tacked naked, with this big piece of corn hanging out of his corey and blood just all down his legs. It was a picture, Alan. It was a picture.
I bet. Okay. You can keep the picture to yourself, though. Hey, that's wonderful, Andy. Thank you very much.
Right, no problem, my mate. Thank you very much indeed, Al. And
Good luck with the
Good to hear
surgery
you
as
again,
well.
my mate.
Bless
yeah,
you.
Thank you, my mate. Good to
Thanks.
hear from you, mate.
Take it. How good is that? Just nice person. That thing up the just no. 0191 488 3188. What are you going to talk about? We've got Dave, who's with us in Sunderland. Hello, Dave.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, man. How you doing?
Not bad, Alan. Not bad now.
That's good. What you been up to then?
I wasn't too good the other week. I was panicking a bit because I lost my hearing in one ear.
Oh, blimey. What was that all about?
I woke up a bit deaf, it was about 20 past 12 and I woke up deaf. There was too much wax in my ear and I needed it sucking out.
Oh, blimey. Right. Hell's bells.
So I was really panicking with losing my hearing.
No, I bet. So,
And
I mean...
my other ear is dodgy as well because I've got that glue in it.
Glue? Oh, that's right. You said that you had that.
Yeah. So it's like both my ears in a way.
So, I mean, with respect to the wax, you just thought you'd gone deaf, and it was just the wax had, fallen over your hole, if you know what I mean, in your ear roll. So, oh, blimey, that's...
I did actually lose my hearing for an hour the other week. I poked my finger in just to see if there was any wax. And my hearing went off for an hour.
Oh, no. Oh, you can't mess about with that, mate.
You can't.
No,
so I've learned the lesson, don't put my finger in my ear anymore.
No, I bet. Oh, that's just dodgy, isn't it?
It gives a right shock. I woke my mum up at 1:30 in the morning because I was panicking a bit.
Right, no, you would.
And I'm pleased I went through. Can I mention the place? I did a really good job.
Yeah, of course you can. Go for it.
It's called Rake House Farm.
Rake House Farm. So what exactly did they do then to you?
They sucked the wax out with a special machine thing.
Oh, right, okay.
And it was brilliant. I can hear crystal clear now out of it.
Did it hurt?
It didn't. Just a tiny bit.
Right. But you're all right. That's the main
Yeah,
thing.
perfect. I'm pleased I got it done.
Did they not do your other ear just in case? Did they have a look in there?
They did that other as well as did both at the same time.
Right. Gotcha. Oh, thank heavens for that. So you
can see I've got glue in it, but the hospital's saying 1 minute I've got an appointment to go up and see, and then I've got a phone call appointment.
Right.
They keep playing it like that all at the moment.
Right. I hear you. It's just scary though when something suddenly happens and you need to talk to somebody who knows about it. You kind of just worry. The best thing to do is to deal with it. No,
I've been getting some old singers, Alan.
Get some old what?
Old singers of years ago.
All right,
I've been getting Des O'Connor and Nancy Sinatra and that.
Right. Are they any good?
Yeah, brilliant.
So what kind of stuff does Des sing then?
He sings different things like raindrops keep falling on my head and stuff
on his head, all right, Yeah, because we had Des has been on Night Owls a couple of times, strangely enough.
And he sings another one. It's a bit catchy. It's called Dick-a-Dum Dum.
Dick-a-Dum Dum. No, I do remember Dick-a-Dum Dum.
It's brilliant.
It's just not something that I would have expected. But
I'm surprised me liking it, to be honest, as well.
Yeah, well, yeah. You should always try listening to lots of different stuff because you never know what's going to appeal. That's the thing.
And my dad used to like with a singer off years ago, and I tried listening to him. I played a couple of his songs, and I'm unsure about them. It was called Paul Robeson.
Paul Robeson, yeah. Now because you're going back a few years, because Paul Robeson was a singer back in the late 40s, 1950s, and he was had a very deep voice, and he used to sing songs like Old Man River, the Old Man. He used to sing all those kinds of... You've got to be into that kind of music. He had a good voice, but it wouldn't be something that I would listen to for fun, that's for sure.
At the moment, I'm tempted to give it to the charity shop.
You could do? Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be nice. Just listen to the Des O'Connor once and give them to the charities,
Right, okay.
Because it's not my type of thing, really.
So what is your type of thing, then? What's your favourite?
I prefer the 80s and 70s.
All right, okay.
And some of the 60s and that.
Right, okay, that sounds fair. Hey, well, just good that your ear's been sorted out, because that's really important.
Are you keeping all right, Alan?
I'm fine, no worries at all. But thanks for ringing in, David. I'm glad. Always keep checking with me. I always want to make sure you're all right.
Alan, before go, can I mention one more thing?
Of course you can.
I thought of a good song for Davy the Milkman.
He's not a milkman and he's a sluice man.
Ex-milkman.
Yeah,
He
okay.
should sing No Milk Today.
No milk today. Me cows ran away. Absolutely. Definitely. Herman's Hermits, 1960 odd. Lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Hey, Alan.
Take care, man. Bye-bye. My goodness.
Hello, everyone. It's Des O'Connor here with Alan.
There you go. And you know, a little bit before we had that thing on about Rainbow.
One for Night Owls on Metro. Do it, do.
Oh, blimey, that's the wrong station. But anyway, we just thought we'd drop it in. 01914 488 3188. At least you got the programme right. Let's zip across to something else. We were talking about things in fields. So what about this? So you've had a hot breath on the back of your neck. You're completely alone in a field. You would instantly think the bogeyman's going to get me. So what was it then?
Well, I screamed and I turned round and this man screamed back into my face. And I says, "You stupid fool." I says, "You nearly gave me a bloody heart attack." And he says, "You've just gave me a heart attack." And he was jogging. It was a man about in his 50s and he was jogging. I said, "The next time you're jogging, can you no whistle?" I said, "So I can hear you coming up."
That's what we're going to have, an outbreak of whistling joggers. It's all we need, isn't it, really?
But I think I gave him more a fright than he gave me because he screamed louder than me.
And you know, we were talking before about, obviously, ear problems. Tony sent this in. Alan, I went almost deaf for around 3 months before Christmas, and I ended up having my ears hoovered at Boots, the chemist. I didn't even know they did it. And it costs £50, but works really well. The doctors don't do it anymore, so it's an expensive do. So what was it? Just a member of staff that comes up to your ears and sucks. It comes out like a Malteser. Is that how it works? But there's other very, very brave people who go through all kinds of tough things. We heard about the vertebrae before. Have a listen to this. They dig holes in your face where his nose used to be.
Yeah, well, why the bone is of your nose, they like screw magnets into them.
The screw magnets into the bone of your head.
3 magnets, and the nose just sticks on.
So you stick the false nose on. He's got one nose for summer when it's red, and he's got an ordinary pale nose for the rest of the
winter.
So when he's been out drinking, does he put the red one on?
He doesn't go out, actually.
Right. Bless his heart. And that was a form of skin cancer.
Yeah, it was.
About that, and of course, something that a lot of people have to contend with: false teeth. He realised he's lost his teeth, and me mother, knowing that me dad didn't like his teeth, obviously thought he'd done it on purpose, just so they didn't have to ring them. Well, the following day he came in and he had a bottom set of teeth. And I remember the conversation going, "Oh, it's okay, I've got a mate of mine who can help me out." Now, when you hear that, you think, well, his mate must be a dentist or something. You presume. You don't expect his mate to be an undertaker. And he says, didn't have to pay for them or anything. I just had to try and find the right ones to fit me. Shock. I hope he didn't tell me mother that, because you can imagine me mother saying, "Let's have a kiss for bed." No! No! And also, I want your calls. You will get on if you give us a ring. We've got Jean coming up, but we want you to call too. Give Harry the Prince a call right now on 01914 488 3188. Maybe you've had a nightmare involving piri piri.
Well, I was kind of skinned at the time. I thought, I've got nothing else to have. So I cut the topping off and just have the inside bit of the chicken.
Right.
But I couldn't get the toilet quick enough.
No.
And I was screaming on the toilet. My daughter come running up the stairs. What's the matter? I says, my bum is on fire. Honestly, I thought it was actually on fire. I've never had a sensation like it in my life. I was poorly for about 3 weeks afterwards.
When you were sitting on the toilet, did your bum try and drink the water?
Honestly, I was close to having to put my bum in the freezer at the supermarket.
And there's also, you know, you heard that story about the bit of corn that went up the end of the man's well, there's other things down there that can cause men trouble.
Apparently a bee went up his show and stung his little testicle.
No! Oh! What do you mean his little testicle? I bet it was twice.
He was only young at the time.
Be twice the size by the time the bees or the wasps finished with it. So he'd have to go and get the sting out, though.
Well, I think his mum had to take it out. I think that's what happened, I think.
Because what you've got to do is you've got to get your tweezers and pull the little black sting out of the...
And I think it's that's sort of really embedded in his head. It's sort of like embedded in his head rather than down there.
And talking about things that dangle...
There's the only person I'd ring and tell, mind.
Good man.
Well, Alan, I used to go with this lass, and she was a double lookalike of Penelope Cruz. By God, well, you know Penelope Cruz yourself.
Yes, she's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And it was absolute a privilege to go out with her.
Right.
But the only problem was, Alan, is that she had a fetish. And the fetish was before sex, what she used to love doing was to slap your testicles. That used to really turn her on.
Was that not instead of sex?
No, Alan, that was before sex, and I tell you what, she used to get off on it. And Christ on me, I tell you what, she might be one of the beautifulest women I've ever been with, but that relationship didn't last very long, I tell you.
I was going to say, did it work for you? Did you say, I'm looking at this beautiful... Whoa!
Well, it was something down on them lines, Alan.
Jeepers.
But many a times, when she says, like, are you up for it? I went, no.
Right.
And she says, well, is it just like me bit kink? I says, you bit?
Did it change? I mean, did it start with like a hand and then move to like a table tennis racket? I mean...
Oh, what it was, Alan, right? I mean, like I say, we used to sit in like front of the fire, when we used to get naked. She used to say, well, before we go any further, mind buzzer, she says, can you stand up? She says, you know what I've got to do? I says, have you got to? I says, you're not going to do the fetish in your life. And I says, that doesn't turn me on at all. I said, I'm in total agony. She says, well, I love it.
Right.
I said, well, I'm sorry I did it.
So, has anybody else got a fetish that we should really talk about? I think it's late enough for us to get away with it. Give us a call, and you can ring Harry right now in his leather chaps and cowboy vest. 0191 488 3188. You with the big one? Time for a piece of music as well. And I thought I'd deliver one that I'm hoping will help the weather work out what it's going to do for our bank holiday on Monday. Everybody else says it's going to rain. Van Morrison doesn't.